Joe Biden. I gotta win, save the country from sin. I won't never slack up, get your money back up. Try and cuss my voter and you're bound to get smacked up. Get up, stand up, throw your MAGA hats up. If you got the feeling, Kamala's unappealing. Trump's got the hot flow, Dems are talking junk though. I got shot in my ears, certify me as the GOAT, yo. Working, chat to peeps in the cars, have me serve more fries than lies from the voters are. DJ T, sure enough in the lead, and if it's what you want, I'm the president you need. Kamala's a clown, Kamala's a clown, so get out and vote, keep jump around, jump around, keep jump around, jump around. Jumps up, Kamala's going down. I'm the cream of the crop, I rise when I'm shot. Some started from the bottom, but I've always been on top. Painting me as a dictator, some type of super trader. I think you need some loving cause you sounded like a hater. But I ain't going down like no punk foo. Clean up the house, Joe, moving in back soon. Kamala's a clown, Kamala's a clown.
Down under where the crypto flows. DeFi's here and everybody knows. PulseChain hacks, it's a crypto dream. Bitcoin, Ethereum, we're on the scene. Crypto happy hour, join the ride. Jump in the stream and feel the vibe. Be sure to hit the like. DeFi Down Under, streaming live. Richard on politics collide. Freedom of speech, we won't hide. Macro views and chat so bright. Join on stream, it's a Friday night. Crypto happy hour, join the ride. Jump in the stream and feel the vibe. Be sure to hit the like. DeFi Down Under, streaming live.
G'day everybody and welcome to the DeFi Down Under happy hour, and g'day to my fellow guests, I guess, and fellow what's the word? You know what I'm talking about. It's True Blue, Big Rig, 43 OG, Face Radiant, and Blue Bum. What is up, guys?
What's going on, Dozza? What's
Oh,
going
mate.
on, mate?
Not from not much sleep, as you can tell by my dodgy intro. Yeah, just been like
that first
watching
video.
the-
That first video, the Magnum PI one.
yeah, that was
And that
partly
really-
there for.
I think that really captures the energy at the moment, the zeitgeist.
Yeah, I guess so.
For some, mate.
I remember
For
talking
others,
to. I remember
like
talking
the end
to
of the
True
world
Blue
for
about
others.
Yeah, it's man. We got to talk about that. I was talking to True Blue a while ago about Magnum PI, and I was going, he's got the Ferrari, and it's like, it's old school. And anyway, I've been saving that one, but if Trump got in, so. But yeah, I've been staying up late and watching all the election stuff, watching Hexologists and watching everyone. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? How it's so polarizing. Some people are just, some people are elated and some people are just devastated.
Really? I don't know anyone who's devastated.
Oh, really?
That's because they're the
man.
minority.
Apart from
Cue
kind
the
of like,
videos.
maybe
Cue
my
the videos.
parents. But my parents are like, yeah, you're always going to find
Yeah.
someone screaming about something, aren't you?
Yeah. It's look, a couple of people I've spoken to, and they've got really bad arguments as well. It's like they're sort of,
Ad hominem attacks. It's
yeah,
just
Trump is
like
Hitler. Trump is Hitler. And I'm going,
Yeah.
well, that's, you either don't know a lot about Hitler or you don't know a lot about Trump. Either way, but it's like a real basic equivalent statement. Like, oh yeah, I get it. Trump equals bad because Trump equals Hitler. I get it. And you're kind of going, I think it's more complicated than that.
Definitely. It's been a crazy
But,
week.
yeah.
I think it's interesting. There's a section of the media which really vilifies Trump. And if you speak to anyone who lives in Europe, I saw a statistic earlier this week, something along the lines of, in Germany, 99% of people hate Trump. 99%. Now, the only way that would be possible, right, given that he's got really very little to do with the country, would be
Plus,
that
he's a
their
Nazi.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally
absolutely
It's the
the
media
globalist
Australia.
representation.
media.
It's the legacy, and that's the case in Australia as well. Like, you don't really find any legacy media outlets that are saying, you know, Trump's going to be good for the US. It's all negative.
Oh
all of
man,
it.
it's been so funny.
about
Like,
People, there is a strong sentiment amongst the people that we are in favor. Like, I'm not saying it's the majority, but there is like a lot of Australians who are behind the MAGA movement. I've been seeing that lately. I've been in the trenches on Twitter, and
hey, on Twitter doesn't count, bro. Everyone on Twitter.
I know it doesn't count, but we've seen now that the echo chamber was the other side.
True.
The echo chamber was the other side.
Maybe the signal was Twitter. That's the scary thing, isn't it? That maybe this whole time we weren't in a bubble and that we actually know what was up.
What was Sky News doing? Because I mean, I don't really watch that sort of stuff, but like I saw a few clips. They were kind of they were more kind of mocking the left and were pro-Trump.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
a little bit.
The people that I'm like friends with and people I've spoken to are sort of, not fussed at all. And most of them are pretty like happy and with the result. But it's mainly just like the boomers and stuff that I talk about, that sort of having a cry, and they don't really understand what's happening. And I think they're just scared. It's just like a fear thing. I think sometimes when people are afraid, they tend to hate. Like, that's the quickest path to hate, is when you're afraid.
Which is strange, though, given we have 4 years of previous work experience history. Like, we know what he's like in, when he's been in the Oval Office. So there's no like, I mean, what exactly did he do that was so heinous while he was there? Like,
exactly, the world didn't end back then.
Stop
wars.
I was talking to my dad. I was talking to my dad yesterday, and he was saying he can't even listen to Trump because he sees him as so vulgar. And it makes sense. Yeah, neither do I.
You know what I think it is?
No,
I reckon it's because
I can understand it, is what I'm saying. Sorry, Bluey. I wasn't like disagreeing with you. I can understand why people find he's hard. I think he can be hard to listen to, but that's not the point. The point is that his team that he's got together, they're going to do good things. They're going to fix some issues, some systemic issues in the US. But I understand that perspective. He can be hard to listen to sometimes.
To me, it's just so kind of like unbelievable that you can't even listen to the person to hear what they're saying and then criticize them based on what they're saying. Rather, it's just like you hear anything or see his image. Like, that's the power of propaganda. It means you can't even listen to the person because everything they say is just bad.
Reframed.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Tribble?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I reckon a lot of the older generations and stuff like that, have really been taught and massaged in the way of the media that they're so used to listening to. And so that's why they've got, they don't like Trump, or they don't like all these new, ideals and the way that we can see that's the best.
They've been brainwashed.
Definitely. They're all massaged, or brainwashed into it. So, I think it's going to take a lot to turn them around.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've grown up with both sides. We've had like legacy media, but we've also got our news from other sources. And I guess we're like by nature very skeptical people. So then we want to, don't trust, verify, and we'll make our own decisions. And that doesn't mean just being argumentative or contrarian for the sake of it. That just means being like, if I'll agree with something if I think that it's correct. I just want to investigate, but I'm initially skeptical.
Yeah.
But maybe a lot of the other people just get drip fed the news through the box, and then they just get spoon fed the narratives.
Their little sphere.
Yeah, and they don't like to question it because that makes them uneasy or uncertain in some way.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it is crazy, just the sort of bipolar, nature of it, where you have some people. But one of the funny things I've noticed is the people that I found who are really anti-Trump or, sort of unhappy with the election result are like super angry, like really like just emotional about it. Whereas I think everyone else is kind of like, oh yeah, like it's awesome. It's cool, whatever. But if it had gone the other way, I don't think I would have been like full angry. If Kamala had gone in, I would have been like, oh, well,
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Despondent.
But for some reason, they're super angry about it. Like they're real heated.
Nowhere near what it was in 2016. Like 2016, I think was such a shock, and that's why you had the full-on like emotional outpouring. I don't feel that emotional outpouring as much this time. But maybe it's.
You're in a different part of the world at the moment, though, Bluey, aren't you? You're.
I'm in India, man. I don't think people here would even give a shit.
That's it. They're just chilling, doing their thing.
I was going to ask, what do they say? What do they say in India? Like, do they
Dude,
just
that's
don't care? They're not interested.
This is the
Not
largest
on the
country
radar.
in the world. This is the largest by population country in the world now. Like India is going to
over
be
China. Wow. And isn't that crazy that they've got the BRICS alliance with China, even though they've got those ongoing border disputes?
Really, yeah, they're positioning themselves really smartly. Like there's a lot of criticism over Modi. I've heard a lot of people here criticizing him for being racist against Muslims. And so, but I don't know anything about that. I don't know how much that's media spin on their media side or how true it is. But it sounds like that's something that's happening. But Modi is very smart, and he's kind of positioning himself on both sides. Like,
okay,
he's whichever way you want to pay us is probably going to be the way what he wants. You know, they're just looking for deals. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, because I mean, I know that Kashmir region has always had like that sort of, is it the Hindu versus Muslim kind of perpetual war going on?
And there's a massive occupation force up there, all around that border. And apparently, like I had a friend who was in these rural places up around Kashmir, and he said you'd be he's just riding his motorbike everywhere. You'd go off into the middle of nowhere, and you'd see full on army dude just in the middle of a field, just with like all covered up and a gun, just occupying basically.
Wow.
But
yeah, and look,
Modi and Xi recently at the BRICS summit are starting to sort out their dispute with China, like India and China's border dispute, which has been there for a very long time. So
I've seen a little bit of a theme lately in some countries. So go ahead.
Don't they have an agreement that on the border, on the very border, that they're not allowed to use weapons and they're only allowed to fight by hand? Like,
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw someone got that too.
Yeah,
that's very gentlemanly.
It sounds like it may be in the past, but I can't imagine them doing that going forward, like with drone warfare and all sorts of
punch
shit.
each other in the head and fish hooks and eye pokes, and
they have their own style of fighting where they kind of like slap each other as well. There's like I don't know what it's called.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
Indian
I've seen that.
Yeah, maybe they just do that.
I've seen that guy do that massive jump with this huge slap.
He jumps and bam.
It's like
classic.
That guy got some
India is
air.
a crazy place. Like it's super crazy. Just going out for a walk anywhere, you know, and there's just all these cows everywhere, and like in the middle of a city. And
Oh, right.
we've got a river in the way.
cow.
Like,
do they have Maccas? Do they have Maccas? Can you get hamburgers? Like you can't buy any beef.
No, you can
or
get
can
beef.
buy.
You just have to go, but you have to go to a restaurant that serves meat, and most of them don't. Like, I mean, I'm in a place which is a real kind of. I'm in this place called Rishikesh, which is really like the mecca for yoga and spiritualism and all that kind of stuff. And you walk into any restaurant here, and it's all vegetarian. But the Indian cuisine is the best vegetarian in the world. Like it's actually tasty and delicious.
Yeah. I've had a carrot curry once, and I was like, that's crazy, because that was actually good. Normally I'm like, just you got to have meat. Like it's just meat, you know, meat central.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can make a vegetarian curry actually taste good.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Well, in terms of like crypto, so I guess this
Trump pump.
This is the Trump pump. That's what I'm getting at. Haven't had much sleep, excuse me. But basically, Trump going up, and we talked about this a little bit because some people are speculating there could be like a sell the news if Trump got in. And I was like, well, if the price of BTC had gone up like heaps before, then they could sell the news. But it was just fluffing that 69K for so long, and it was right around that sort of where we expected it to be after 3 years. And then I was thinking, no, we're due for an explosive, pump upwards. And I thought, well, if Kamala gets in, then sure, it might dump. But I can't imagine it was going to dump if Trump got in. And that's exactly how it played out. Like Trump got in, pumped up. So it was like one of those cases of like, just don't overthink it. And just,
I actually thought that the Richard Hart's court case, but this is specifically for Hex and the Pulse ecosystem. I thought that was going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event, but that didn't really happen either.
Yeah, that's
Like,
interesting.
It was so successful. Like people who actually looked into the court case just saw, holy shit, this guy's got a super strong chance of just beating it at the first hurdle.
Yeah, I 100% agree, man. I couldn't believe that actually, because I heard a lot of people that were at the hearing, and they were so bullish about it, and I'm thinking, come on, guys, like we're all Hexicans here. Like let's just RG3's pumping us up, pumping our tires, and I'm thinking, but then when I read the transcripts, I was like, oh no, holy shit, that judge was just like slaying all of their arguments.
She was on
saying,
wasn't she?
How does this pertain to personal jurisdiction, though?
We love you, Auntie Judge Carol.
Was awesome. She was very logical, and she's sort of just going, yeah. That's a great point about Howie, but we're not talking about Howie. We're talking about personal jurisdiction. So how does this? Yeah,
she brought him back.
She brought him back every time.
And
I was just like,
time,
yes.
Yeah,
Auntie Carol.
Take that crap. Hey, it's it's
so
good.
If anyone doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to read it, or can't be bothered, there was the Degen Roundtable channel that did a read through of the transcript, and it goes for like an hour or whatever. So
SJ was good.
Yeah. So
SJ was good in that. She was like,
people.
She was like because she was the judge, wasn't she? So she was like, it sounded, because SJ is obviously on our side, but it made the judge sound like she was even more on our side. Like with her like inflections.
Yeah.
But that was good. Yeah, shout out to the DGen Roundtable. So it was a Zenith and that Will Stevenson guy. I think I might have got his name wrong, but those guys are legends.
That also just gives you much more confidence in the American judicial system. Like from so many of the stories about the lawfare against Musk and Trump and whoever else, like you just saw blatant court corruption. And here we have this judge who was actually onto it and not just taking a political side or whatever. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
she was like to the letter of the law, like just saying, hang on a tick.
Some people,
you guys have put this case forward, and you're talking about, like the alter ego stuff, and they're saying, are you dropping the alter ego thing? Because, and then they were sort of umming and ahhing about it, and instead of saying, well, are you either moving forward with this or not? So it's kind of seemed like they had dropped the alter ego stuff where the code was on trial, because that was the dumbest aspect of it, I thought. Yeah. Where you can't like sue like code. But it sounded like she was saying that was dumb as well.
If he gets off on this, that's an amazing precedent for crypto. Like anyone who wants to launch their own crypto now and ask for, or not, they won't ask for money, obviously. They'll say you can send it with no expectations to this address.
The thing is, though, what I've realized about that personal jurisdiction thing was it was hugely important that he was only appearing, even though virtually, but in the Hex conference after the offering period had ended. So that was like the biggest, thorn in the prosecutor side. Hex. Yeah, they were just saying that the PulseChain offering and the PulseX offering had finished, and then after that point he appeared in this Hex conference. So there's no way that he could have been asking Americans to participate in the offering, because it had finished by the time he appeared in the conference.
It was close to finished, right? It finished in April. It finished in April sometime. I think the conference was in maybe March or something. It was maybe just before. But the argument was that it was so far down the track. It was so at the end of it that, like, realistically, what influence could that have had on investors? because it was so
I
far.
think it was
on.
like one of those cases where you can't stop people sending crypto to, you know, with blockchain. You could still send
Yes.
money to those addresses now, like if you wanted to. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. But that they had made a direction, you know, on the offering website, if you're going to call it that, saying that, you know, that the sacrifice phase had ended, and that if people still, you know, put in money after that point, or crypto after that point, they weren't sort of being instructed to do so.
There are all those details, but the thing is that if he gets off, there will be legal clarity for a pathway for other people.
I definitely think, yeah, there will be a precedent set, but only like pertaining to this personal jurisdiction aspect, like, because that's what's getting him off. They're not saying that it's not a security or any of this. They're just saying that you can't have this.
Yeah, but it just means other people can copy that pathway.
That framework. They would have to do it exactly like he did it. Like they couldn't
Within reason
on YouTube, you know, during or before, you know, that offering phase, or like in some sort of you know, conference capacity. They would have to do that after the offering had finished, because I think they were sort of saying, you know, it's one thing if you're doing it on YouTube because that's to the whole world, but if you're doing it at a conference where people are actually physically in America, then that you can't do that. So, and also it was interesting that they might actually break up the different cases. So they might say, you know, you don't have jurisdiction to talk about Hex because, you know, the adoption amplifier stuff was years ago. So the fact that he had appeared in these Hex conferences, that was way after the fact. So then you could exclude Hex from the arguments, and you might even be able to exclude PulseChain from the arguments. I think PulseX was the only one where they had shown that there was a little bit of overlap in where one of the conferences fit into that time. So that might be interesting as well if they break up the you know, decision.
Definitely,
because they wanted to treat each entity, each like ticker on their own right. So I thought that was bullish for Hex.
Even that's good because it'll bring legal clarity. Like if he gets off for Hex, then that's a path forward for people in the future.
Yeah. I mean, the SEC they seem to have like a pretty weak source argument, and because they'd based it all around this Hex conference thing, they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit because they fucked up the dates. So, and then they're just playing catch up. So, yeah, when I read the transcripts and saw that thing with the DGen Roundtable guys, I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Big
pretty stoked.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. So, I mean, this was the BTC Trump pump. So this is just, you know, basically was like bleeding into the result here and then just went bang. So it was funny how the charts knew before the result, if you know what I mean. Like you could just see that Trump was going to win because the Bitcoin price was
100%. I was saying that on the phone to someone. It's like, I reckon like he's definitely going to win. I can tell. They're like, how? It's like Bitcoin price straight up. Yeah,
there's money involved and people are.
I think it's the first time that the price pumped before the election. Like it usually happens a couple of days after, if I'm not wrong on my timing.
That sounds
okay.
This is a novel one.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was hard to sell the news because it wasn't like locked in that it was going to happen, that Trump was going to win. But then once they got a sniff, like they knew that they had Pennsylvania and all that sort of stuff, it was just like, okay.
The betting markets were very skewed, especially right up at the end. Like it was like 95% Trump and like 5% Kamala. The money was on Trump. But
and it's all-time high. It's literally never been higher. So everyone who's ever bought Bitcoin ever is in profit. Like, it's literally 76K. And we were down at, 58K for ages. We're down at, that 69K for a long time as well.
Yeah.
And to think that we pretty much nailed this, the 3-year cycle part of it as well, where we were sort of saying, this is the 4-year cycle, and then this is the 3-year mark of the 4-year cycle. And that basically at that mark is typically where you break the previous all-time high. So that's kind of where we expected it, like within a week. I mean, we didn't know that the election was going to be on the 5th of November. Like, I think I made a call in February saying that I think it was going to be the 8th of November, like was the exact 3-year mark where I thought it was going to bust up. But like 3 days earlier was the election. And then but that really does cement in this 4-year cycle thing. So that's crazy.
So
and if you liked that pump, then you'll love the Hex pump, because that was even crazier, wasn't it? Let me just pull that up.
Now's the
Glorious.
I mean, probably a few days ago, but now's the time when people should be really considering like how much hex they're putting in LPs, because
in permanent loss,
you're missing some of those gains if you have it in LPs.
Yeah, I mean, so it was already on a pretty massive tear, from the lows of 0.00369 or whatever it was. It had already gone up to 1.8 cents, but then we had that bleed into the trial, which was a little bit sad. And then did you see someone sold 90 million hex in like one click?
that was a massive okay. Yeah.
Look at this capitulation.
Just 8 slippage.
Just ate it. Yeah. So that was this red candle here. And that's the kind of capitulation wick we like to see, because, you're making, so that's on the 4-hour, but on the daily, it made a higher low and it had that capitulation, which was brought right back up. So
It's not too bad for a 90 million sale, really. Think about it.
90 million hex. I think it was only
90 million hex. That's not too
Yeah, but
bad
how
for a
many
90 million hex sale. Like that's all it did.
Yeah.
It was back up
Yeah.
to where.
True.
Oh, yeah, it was great buyback.
I mean,
Yeah,
the thing is, you just have to look at all of the e-hex that's on PulseChain, and that's what's everyone's. I mean, obviously that's e-hex, but that's what everyone's just waiting to dump.
I mean, it's up 61% from the bottom of that wick. And that was only 22 days ago, it says here. Oh no, 22 4 hours. Hang on a tick. So let me just see what that is in terms of days. I was going to say it's only the other day.
Hey, Bluey, if
much,
someone can
4 days.
if someone can work out a way, like something for people to do with the e-hex on PulseChain, like if there was something to do with it, like if you could do something with it, right, that would be a very exciting proposition for a lot of hexagons. If there was just something you could do with it, like, fuck, I don't know, anything.
Well, do you reckon,
Stake it on Ethereum?
Yeah,
Burn it.
or is that something that we're waiting for Alex to sort out? Do you reckon he'll have something out very soon?
I
Maybe.
have
mean,
no idea. I just think that
It's been bloody ages that he's been working on it, and he doesn't really give us any updates. I mean, very rarely. And so
I think for me, it's like PulseChain was built for hex, and I'm sort of more of the p hex sort of side of things, but it doesn't mean I don't have some e hex and stakes and things like that as well as like a hedge. But that's more like a speculation that when people see hex going up, they might just only be able to access the hex on Ethereum because they can't figure out a bridge or whatever, and then just fat finger it into low liquidity or whatever. But really, like, Richard Hart has come out and said, that hex on PulseChain is the go. So I just don't see why not just focus their energy on that. Like, that's it. To me, seems a better way forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, why not? I mean, everyone can decide. Ultimately, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. You never know. I think people can make their own choices which side they want to.
Oh yeah, that's it.
We don't
spend their
we
own
don't
money
really
how
have
they want.
to. Yeah. Like we don't. I don't think it's like really. I think that whole thing got blown out of proportion, like way beyond like what you know what it really was. I mean, ultimately,
some people
I
take
think
it
we all
personal as
agree
well.
that Hex. I think we all agree that Hex on PulseChain is the best place to stake Hex. Like I don't see, like, I would like to hear an argument that I'm yet to hear a convincing
give you an
argument that I'm yet to hear a convincing argument that staking Hex on Ethereum is safer than staking Hex, native Hex on PulseChain. I'm yet to hear a convincing argument.
What do you mean by safer?
As in, like, from a, well, surely you've been in a situation where you have not been able to end stakes on the Ethereum side when gas prices have been high. So that's what I mean by safer. Like it's a much safer proposition to end stake.
Isn't that bullish for the price of? Isn't that bullish for the EHEX? Because if people can't, if it's too expensive for people to not unstake those small ones,
that wasn't my. That's not what I'm. Yeah, I wasn't. I'm not saying that Hex on Ethereum can't pump. What I was saying is that it's safer from just an, you know, being able to end stake it perspective to stake native Hex.
but you know what I've been doing
on PulseChain, like
what I've been doing is just waiting, and sometimes I have to wait a month. But at some point, the gas comes down on Ethereum, and then I just chuck in an incredibly low gas and just leave it in there sometimes for hours or a day, and they get filled. And even though it's still expensive to end the stakes, it's made it viable for a lot of them. Still,
The Quay is super low at the moment on Ethereum, and has been for ages. So I think ever since this proto dank sharding, it's been super low. So I don't know.
There've been times where it gets up. It still ratchets up, but it comes back down again.
You can always find a time, you know, when
I need to use it is the time.
No, look, I've found, you know, Saturday during the day, Sundays, you know, on the weekend for in Australia, like in the middle of the day, there's no one's using it. Like you know, once you get to about 7 p.m. our time, then it's people wake up on the other side of the world. But yeah, look, I mean, I don't really care. People do whatever they want with their own money. I mean, I'm sort of, it's almost like with this Trump thing, you know, it's like people can have opposing thoughts and opposing ideas and things like that to me, and that's fine. Like, it doesn't stop me from like interacting with the person at a human level. We can, you know, agree to disagree or whatever. But some people take it like full serious. I think it's funny. But they're like, you know, EHEX all the way. Like, you see some of these guys and they're crazy about it, and it's like, just chill, man. Do what you want to do. It's fine. Like, but yeah, I've always said this as well. You can only be right or wrong for a given time frame. So like, there were points where people are like dunking on people, going, "Bam, look at this ratio! Like, you know, EHEX is nearly a parity," and then like now it's the other way around. It's like 7-1 or something, you know. So it's like, but then it might change in the future. So it's like, just.
It's not the greatest thing. Like, to some extent, it has a beneficial effect in that people, you know, any news is good news. Like, it keeps it in the zeitgeist. But the antagonism doesn't need to be there. Like, if the two communities were building each other up rather than kind of hurling stones across the fence.
I like Somi's way of talking about it. He says that it was Hex was too powerful.
Though? Are they two communities though?
No.
Or they just or is it one community with a few like louder people who just have certain, you know? But you ask, like, for example, we're talking about people like someone, for example, who's been quite vocal. Someone like Brizology. I'm not throwing shade at Brizology, by the way. I like Brizology. He's been quite vocal about you know, PHEX and EHEX, but I know that he holds EHEX. Like, I know he does. Yeah. So it's like, you know, he still has EHEX. You know what I mean? So we're all in the same. We're all in the same.
Yeah. I can say, people can do whatever they want, their own money. No bother for me. But I like the way Somi said that Hex was too powerful and it had to be broken into two. That's like the positive spin.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
might just say hello to the chat here because apologies for in my
smash.
sleep deprived state. I've neglected people here, but g'day to DJ Creditus. I think
Mr.
you were
John
jet
Penn.
setting. Yeah, I think he's jet setting around again. So
Yes,
yeah.
DJ Creditas,
good to see you there,
a
DJ.
resident Korean Greek.
I think that's it. Some casual racism, but no, he came on. He had a good laugh.
Korean
about
wog.
it.
They're the
That's
Korean
funny.
wog.
Yeah, no, he's chill. He's a good dude.
I don't
So
think
good.
he's fussed. Yeah.
Oh, I could get. Hang on,
Quintrons, what's
I could
up?
be in trouble for that. I just realized.
Yeah, that's
I
if
could
you're
get
in
in-
public space under Rule 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. 1970,
Okay.
someone can sue you. Maybe
I'm not
we don't
familiar
really
with
know.
this, but
Please don't
Okay.
sue me,
Jeez.
Creditas.
nah, yeah. How much hex you got? That's the thing.
Yeah.
He'll settle for a squid position. So yeah, what's up, Clintrons, Jerry? It's my boy Blue. We got two blues today. We got the true blue, but I think he may be talking about blue bum. Sorry there,
Yeah.
Big Rig. Because
Yeah,
we got
no.
the two blues here today.
We're wondering where Bluey's been, so it's good to have him back.
Yeah,
So-
definitely good to have him on. Always good. I actually want to I don't know if I should launch into it now, but I want to chat to you about that MH70. Was it MH17?
Oh no, yeah,
My
370.
memory is gone.
370.
370. That's
I've got
the
enough
one.
tin foil.
But didn't they
Running
find
out.
some wreckage
Maybe
or
bring that
something?
speed up. I mean, the pictures to me look like really. You can tell that's a plane in there. I don't know.
Oh man, do I even have it here? Is the question. This is all like crypto stuff.
You could use
I'll
that
see if I can
argument
find
on
it.
the three dots theory as well. Like if you can tell the three dots is some like time warp orb, then then you can probably look at that thing at the bottom of the ocean and say that that's a fuselage.
Private chat, Dozza, put in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably the go because I thought I had it bookmarked. Oh no, I fully do. Here we go. Yeah, so interesting that this came out. Who was it who sent me this? Someone in the private chat was saying about it that they had found MH370 and there was some
Yes, I put it in
photos and things. So yeah, not exactly conclusive, but because there's so many wreckages and
Yeah,
stuff
what is
in
that?
the ocean.
Yeah, so that's a plane, is it?
Could be a boat, could be anything.
Plane
Clearly
from
a 747.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Could be
But
anything.
it matches the Inmarsat data perfectly, apparently.
It could be a
exact
container
trajectory
that's
of the
fallen off
plane.
a ship, just sitting at the bottom of the
exactly.
ocean.
Mate, it could be
anything.
someone's bathtub. It could be some good lighting and
What's
or some
the
bad
scale?
lighting. Bathtub.
Yeah.
Looks like my Temu packaging. Just like ordered that.
I was just thinking though, that was something you said then, Bluey, that like people tend to be hugely skeptical of things that the government tell them, which is fair enough. Like that's sort of been proven. But then the problem is they don't apply that same degree of skepticism to some of the the conspiracy theory stuff. So I would like to see like a consistent amount of skepticism applied to both. Because I think, or maybe 43 just said, like, if you looked at that 3 orb thing, you could almost say that looks almost as inconclusive as this stuff here. Because when I looked at that 3 orb thing, for me, did you notice that the clouds were completely stationary? So you could see the plane moving in 3D space, and then you see the orbs, but all the clouds don't move, bro. Like the clouds are full static.
I didn't.
And it's
Yeah, I wasn't watching the clouds. But did you guys see? I
Yeah,
love
but
how.
that's like a pretty big giveaway that they've
Oh yeah,
used it.
absolutely. I love how Somi has
CGI.
been on a bit of a tear with the UFO stuff. Did you watch that video he made really recently where they were like interrogating an alien? There's video.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh,
no.
dude, you have to watch that one. It is like
Interrogating it.
after you watch his full video, you're going, it's crazy, man. But it's like because this guy goes and investigates, and he goes and interviews people this woman who was married to one of the doctors who's in that kind of video and all this other stuff, and it just makes you go, whoa.
Yeah. I'll check
I love
it out,
listening
man.
to Blue Bum talk about aliens. I love it. I fucking love it. Dude, I could listen to Bluey talk about aliens all day long and me just sit back and be skeptical, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Of course,
it.
you got to be skeptical.
Takes me back to the old days of the Hex Late Show when we used to just sit there talking about stuff on the Westall Extension, aliens on the Westall Extension.
Hair of the alien.
Westall Extension is like a road in sort of metropolitan Melbourne, and people saw aliens there.
Yeah, they have a park there now with the fucking UFO in the park, to
Really?
commemorate. Yeah.
Far out.
It's fun though. It's fun. The discussion is always fun when we're talking about when you're talking about aliens.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, that people could say. So, and there's a lot of interesting things I think that is legit in terms of if it depends on when you're talking about UAPs, you don't know whether it's military craft or whatever. And of course, was it the SR-71 Blackbird stuff that they were the Skunkworks programs in the 60s and 70s. So they've been working on stealth tech. They've been working on, all sorts of different crafts and flights and things like that. So yeah, it's not to say that there's not military crafts left, right, and center. The question is, I guess, whether it's genuine aliens. But when you're interviewing an alien, I got to see that that. I'm going to be having the skeptical hippo eyes.
There's no sound in it, but there's a lot of things to make you go, what on earth is going on here? Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway.
Did anyone watch the Musk Rogan interview where they touched on propulsion systems very briefly? And Musk was like,
didn't see that. No.
Yeah, you didn't see that? There's a
no
part of it where they touch on that, and Musk is just yeah, I don't think so. Mystery propulsion systems and all that. He's I don't think so.
I mean, the thing is, we probably would have seen it in these wars already. If they had such a masterful technology that was far superior to anything out there at the moment, you would have thought that they would have actually used it. For how many wars are they fighting?
Hasn't come to it, but you'd wonder why.
And they're losing, and America are losing. So my guess is either they've got it, but they have no idea how to actually implement or use it, or they just don't have it, and it's all just bullshit propaganda.
Mm.
We still don't know. The thing I have a big question mark about that just doesn't sit well with me after seeing the photos was that stuff that happened in was it the Maui fires? How there was just whole areas totally destroyed, and then just
and the ones with the blue roofs,
just houses perfectly intact. That to me, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy, whatever. I've got no idea what that means, but it just seems very odd to me that a house in the middle of all that carnage would be untouched. Seems odd to me. I don't.
Hey,
someone explain to me who understands fire, how that could work.
Can I change the subject a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just going to pull it.
Recently, I watched for the second time the Somi versus Adam Stokes interview.
Yeah.
Well, not versus Somi and Adam Stokes interview, which I just thought was. I had to watch it twice because I just thought it was such good analysis on Somi's part. It was just high tier analysis of the whole of everything that's happening, in crypto, and what has happened in the RH system. And there's still one point where Somi says that all the hexagons, it's about this centralized ownership, and that he says that people in the RH system know that centralized ownership is good because it's a better price increase. And he gave an example of Tesla when Elon owned way less of the stock. It actually pumped when he owned more of the stock. And I suppose there is some evidence to say that centralized ownership increases the size, but I just don't get it. I don't get how.
The supply can't move.
Can I have a
it's
go?
taking off
Can I have a guy?
inflation.
Can I have
Sure.
a cry, mate?
Yeah.
So if one person who is committed to not selling is holding the supply, that means that supply that he's holding, which would otherwise be in the hands of weak hands, is being held. So less people
But
can sell.
Wouldn't it just?
It's like
I mean,
less
the thing
supply
is,
can hit
let's
the
say you have,
market.
yeah, but let's say you have centralized ownership. Wouldn't the price just depend on all the other people? Like, it'd just move it all down.
There would be more in the hands of the
Mm.
other people who sell.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
if
so
someone has
the only
like a
way-
centralized entity, they can take loans against those shares or whatever, and those assets. They don't have to sell every little thing. But whereas if it's distributed around, then people might just be selling because they need to buy a new car or whatever. I guess that's one argument.
Yeah, but
And,
Hex
and
has
by
not.
the time it gets to the
always
point,
borrowing.
Oh, how do you know
But
that?
the-
Oh wait, there's no one's borrowed against the OA's thing. You don't know that?
I mean, who's going to give money for that much liquid Hex just sitting in? That's never going to sell.
I'm not
I
saying
don't-
he did. I'm just saying we don't know. Like that there's never been any loans taken
He
out
could've-
against
I
them.
suppose he
I mean,
could've got a
how would
loan.
you know?
Where would he have got
I
a
think
loan?
we're sort of this is beside the point of because it doesn't really need to apply to Hex. We're just talking in general. If supply is in the hand, if more of the supply is in the hands of someone who's not selling it, and that's happened over time, so that entity's just been buying up the whatever's been put on the market. Sooner or
There's no
later,
debate.
It's just not
Well,
selling.
didn't. Yeah, no, but they've been buying it up. That's how they've acquired more, right?
No, they've just been getting it from like half the penalties and all of that. No.
Yeah, certainly.
Well,
The
we
OA's
actually
accumulating
we
through
don't-
end
I mean,
states.
we need to acknowledge that
Yes.
that we don't know who's buying what. Like it's we can see stuff on chain, but we don't know who the entities are who are buying. We don't
Yeah,
know
it's
who
all
they are.
guesswork, all that stuff. Yeah.
But it could all be one person, couldn't it? It may not. It's not all one person, but it could be that certain people who have big bags of money on the side have just been slowly chipping away at these low prices over the last year and a half, and they've been getting a bargain, and they've got no intention of pumping the price up because they get to take more supply of the market for longer while the prices are lower.
Could be.
And then when there's a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of just like in the last 2-3 days, a little bit of interest in in the ecosystem, and it just pumps up 40%, in a matter of very little time at all. And if you go back a month or whatever, 4x in a matter of like a month.
Yeah, there's definitely someone's been accumulating for sure. I mean, it's been awesome. I was going to pull up that Hex chart in a second. In fact, I can do it right now. But it's been crazy. It's even outperformed PLS. PLS has been going up heaps, but 60 odd percent. If you go on the day, this has only been, I think it's in about 4 days. Yeah, 65% in 4 days. That's crazy.
It's good.
So definitely someone's been buying that back up. And like you say, 43, someone had been buying up pretty consistently, since about September. So I wonder if some of that wasn't to do with the case transcripts. I think like you were saying, Blue Bum, that there was so many bullish people after that case that maybe people were like, oh, holy crap, maybe it will get dismissed, like on this jurisdictional thing. maybe that was the reason for it. But or
Did
it's
you-
the Trump pump. Either way, I guess it doesn't matter as long as the bags are getting pumped.
That's it. That's it. Did you see there's an old community member that's resurfaced in the past couple of days?
Oh yeah, Rackham. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's come back and joined the bandwagon again publicly. So I know he's been there in the background, and I've heard of people speaking with him or whatever. I know he's still been around. But yeah, could be.
So
anyone,
I'll
I
just quickly give you a very quick synopsis of what I think about that, which people I think might or may not agree with. But there's audio of him on the Spaces talking about how everyone's going to sell too soon, and how the whole thing's going to the moon, and no one should sell, and all this sort of stuff, and just diamond hand it and all this stuff. And then on chain, the wallets that have been attributed to him were selling flat out, like since launch. But because he pooled with a whole bunch of people, you don't know that was him selling, or you don't know that there's like 50 people in his pool or 10 people in his pool. There may be just 3 people that wanted to get out, and they had such sizable bags. So then you can't really blame him, but it looks bad because it's his wallets. It's his pool. So yeah.
Back in the day when the Hex voice chat in Telegram was just starting, I was on it quite a lot, and I used to have conversations with Rackham.
Oh, there you go.
And there was a while where we were trying to push. I was trying to get him to come on to this show, but
you're right.
he said he would, but he never ended up doing it.
Okay.
But one of the things that he said, because he got into Hex, really early with a whole lot of people, but they set up some sort of legal structure where they couldn't sell.
Wow.
Maybe that was for Hex, but not necessarily for Pulse.
No,
or
I've no
PulseX,
idea what they did with Pulse or Pulse, whatever.
Yeah, because they've been selling. They've been selling hard. Like, I think he was the number 3 SAC wallet or something. Like, and then those wallets have been crushing the price. So I think that's why a lot of people in the community have got a lot of hate for him. But then if you kind of say, well, hang on, if he's part of a pool, and he may never have sold a single PLS, or you don't know. So
the other
I guess
thing
you got to
is,
give him credit.
who really cares?
Benefit of the doubt.
But who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly as well.
The only person I care about if they sell is the OA. That's the only. Otherwise,
Like,
you're free to sell, like whatever.
people can sell.
That's another.
Yeah.
People can sell whenever they want. Like, I don't really give a fuck. But he also did say some disparaging comments about some community members as well. I thought that was a bit like, I think that's where you sort of crossing the line, where you start to have personal attacks on people. I was just like, why are you doing this? You don't need to do this sort of stuff. But yeah, and that doesn't just apply to him. Oh no, I'll tell you afterwards. But he had a few things that he said that were just like, without proof. I don't like people saying certain stuff about people. It's like slanderous, It's like, how mud sticks sometimes, and if you're saying things about people without evidence, it's like, unless you've got evidence, maybe you shouldn't be saying that publicly.
How has he come back? He tweeted something, and so now he's back or something.
He posted an old video of him with his Lambo with the hexagon number plates or whatever, but.
Okay.
He also said, I think, that he'd gone through a divorce and all this sort of stuff. So,
really? I mean, he was going to do a whole lot of things like set up an exchange and all sorts of stuff, wasn't he?
A lot of those
he does.
From what I've heard, a lot of those people, like I heard RG3 talking about a lot of that stuff, and they sort of saw what was happening with the community at one stage, on Twitter and whatever, people sort of fighting with each other and it getting a bit toxic. Apparently that's what pushed those investors over the edge. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's what they're claiming.
Is this the Saudis? Remember there was the whole Saudi thing?
Yeah. All of those people that were going to do that, and the exchange, and that they also had to do with those sacrifice wallets.
But they were trying to tell Richard Hart to settle down with his language from when he was streaming, because that wasn't appealing to the Saudi investors. And I think he was like,
wow.
Don't watch. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you don't like it, don't watch my channel. Like, he wasn't going to change.
There are so many docos. There's so many docos that could be made about these last 5 years.
It's been
Yeah,
good.
yeah, a lot of drama. Like,
I'm not a
but, yeah.
fan of any of
Who
that
cares?
stuff, man. Like, when
Yeah.
people use certain narratives as an excuse to try and tell people how to behave,
Yeah,
I'm just not a
100%.
fan
I don't
of it.
like that either.
you know?
Yeah, you should moderate your behavior because of how it makes me feel. It's like, what? No. That sounds like a you problem. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
yeah,
Exactly.
Switch it
I
off.
think it's the whole point of this stuff is it's decentralized, so you don't have to care about what anyone's behavior is in the real world.
But also, if you're a business
All
person,
that
and
matters
you were
is
thinking-
what's on chain.
if you're a business person, you were thinking of starting up an exchange, and you saw a whole lot of activity, even if it was vitriol and hate and whatever being spewed, you'd be. And that was one of the most bullish things about Hex when I first came to it, and then all of a sudden I saw all the controversy. I was like, yes, controversy. That's what we
yeah,
want.
true.
That's what we want. I don't want everyone to be nice to each other and just like that's boring. How long does that last?
We don't want kumbaya.
True.
Yeah.
It's a good way of looking
Yeah.
at it. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's like when you have a narrative or like a story, you need an antagonist. Like you need the conflict is what makes a story exciting. Like if you watch, there's always a good villain. It's like some of my favorite movies like have got awesome villains in them. Like Die Hard, for example. You got Hans Gruber. It's like he's like the villain. And True Blue, if you haven't watched Die Hard, then come on.
I'll open the list up, mate. All right. We'll keep it going.
You haven't seen Die
Open
Hard?
up.
Hang on.
I
True
have.
Blue.
I
I was
have.
going to say,
Yes,
you were going to be
But yes.
look, it's not even my stream, but I was going to banish you off this stream immediately to go watch
Nah,
that
he
movie.
would have seen Die Hard, surely. But
I have
Hans
seen
Gruber,
Mate, I've seen lots of things, but
person.
I don't pay much attention to movies, even when I watch
Hey.
them. To be honest, so
Die Hard
I
is
don't-
the
I
ultimate
don't know what's
wrong
action
with-
movie.
yeah.
Classic
Christmas
villain. I was
movie
just going to say
before.
Alan Rickman. I think he plays Hans
I haven't
Gruber
watched
in
the
that.
movie for 5 years. Literally.
Oh, really?
I prefer swinging spanners than watching movies, to be honest. But
Maybe a couple
Oh,
of
there you
doco.
go.
yeah.
Look, I don't get much time either. Like you'll notice all of my movie references are like 30 years old.
Swinging Spanners.
It's like-
Wait, what is that? Is that like
You just-
what's Swinging Spanners? Is that like a code for something else? What?
working on cars.
Nothing down your line of probably thoughts, but yeah, just working on cars and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that was what I was doing when everyone else was watching movies. So
Now that's something else you're thinking of. 43.
yeah, like that.
What,
that
what am I
Ferrari.
thinking? I'm trying to understand what Swinging Spanners is. It just playing
I think
around?
you just invented
in
a
the tool
new
shop?
lingo.
Sounds
Yeah,
like a
just
male.
like cars.
Double-ended spanners and all sorts of things.
Changing
Yeah,
the
that's
oil.
it. But yeah,
Yeah.
like that 308
Neutral.
Ferrari in Magnum PI. I know the car because I've driven one, but I haven't seen
Oh,
the movie.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
sweet.
Yeah.
That's the
What
best.
year is that Ferrari from?
Oh,
Ooh,
it's
gotta be
60s or no,
yeah. 70s.
no, it's
I
like
would have thought.
70. I think it's like 75-ish or something like that,
Old
probably.
school.
Yeah.
Is it nice to drive?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
V8
yeah.
sound crazy. And they got like the old slotted shifters. I don't know if you've ever been to the game arcades when they have, the
Yeah,
old
yeah.
school ones. And yeah, they got the slotted
I got
metal
cars like
shifter. They're really cool. Yeah. Yeah. So
Awesome,
nice.
lots
to
of
drive.
fun. Yeah. I love cars as well. I love driving different cars and like trucks and things like that. Every now and then you just get someone will be like, oh, I need you to help me move a house. I'm like, can I drive the truck? And then it's like, someone will have like an excavator or something because they're doing something in their backyard. I'm like, can I drive your excavator? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
can I get in this forklift and do some donuts? Like,
Yeah.
just
Can I
love
test out my
drive.
physics knowledge by swinging stuff on that
How
excavator?
does this work?
Yeah.
I've even tested like simulators for like mining companies where
Nice.
they map like the Kalgoorlie super pit and all these different mine sites, and then they put them in this simulator, and you get in it, and it's just like bah, 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 and then you try and like roll it and stuff, and
That's sick.
it's lots
Yeah,
of fun.
good stuff.
In the end, it's like on fire, or like and they have like realistic things like that you can do. And it's
Yeah.
like, you just crushed like some car and you just dumped like a whole load of iron ore on something, and I'm like, that's awesome.
It like simulates you getting
Maxing it
fired
out.
from your boss.
Yeah.
But I'm testing the electronics. I'm like testing the electronics for electromagnetic, interference and things like that. So, but I just like get in there simulators and just have a play.
So good.
Well, it's been a
Lots of
massive
fun.
pump in the RH ecosystem in the last, since the election. Has it been pretty much across the board with crypto? Like, is everything just pumping?
Look, some things more than
Pumped
others.
a bit.
Soul certainly did, and like Sui and a few other things, but not everything, man. Like,
You should get the buffers up. But what about like, because it's gone up, 60% or something? I don't think much has pumped up that high. Maybe a few dodgy meme coins, but the last 7 days, buffers something would be good.
Yeah, I just tend to look at the charts and stuff. So, like if you look at Sol, for example, Sol's been pumping. ETH had been pumping. Like some pretty. Oh, look at that! It's getting rejected off whatever this resistance is.
What's the yellow line?
That's a moving average. That'd be like the
200.
the 50. No, shit, that's the 200.
Oh.
So looks like I've got 10, 20, 50, and then 200. So just getting rejected possibly off that 200-day moving average there. But yeah, interesting. Like Ethereum has been pumping, which is good for PulseChain because we've got the bonded liquidity and all of that stuff as well. But there's been a few other ones. I think Doge has been going on a bit of a tear, possibly because of that Department of Government efficiency position that Elon was going to get. I don't know. I think a few memes have been going off, just very recently, like Pepe, but Pepe's been sort of doing well. But like some of the other stuff has been doing poorly, like say Nia, for example, getting rejected off the 20 MA there. Avalanche is doing okay. Ton not doing well. Casper doing poorly. So some things have been doing poorly, but like others haven't. So like Tron has been doing okay, but now sort of rolling off a bit. So it is a bit of a mixed bag in terms of like the Hex ecosystem. I think a lot of things have been pumping. Certainly a lot of the meme coins and things have been doing really well as well. But yeah, I don't know if you guys wanted to check out like ratios or any of that stuff.
Of a combined PulseX, Hex, Inc. versus like see how the whole kind of system is moving, hey?
So this is all the PulseChain core coins. So everything's up for the day, 3%, 4%, 5%, all this sort of stuff. But if you look at like let's have a look at Hex versus Pulse versus PulseX. So if you price Hex in terms of Pulse, like this is P Hex versus Pulse, it's been outperforming Pulse, and it's at about 294 Pulse per Hex. So that's nearly, I want to say that's close to all-time high. If it's not, yeah. I mean, apart from these wicks, there is a bit higher. 317 was the highest. So yeah, the P-Hex to Pulse ratio, because I remember the other day it went up, Pulse went up about 18%, and P-Hex had gone up about 55%. So, I mean, less liquidity for Hex. So I think maybe that's why it was pumping harder. But certainly that ratio of like Hex to PLS is looking pretty healthy. And it's getting support on that 20 MA as well. PulseX versus Pulse, I think, has been pretty sideways. But yeah, that's
a good one to have an LP in.
Yeah, definitely low impermanent loss there. Although with these sort of prices like just rocketing up, you got to be a little bit careful with some of these LP. But yeah, this one definitely is a bit better than the others. I guess you've got like Inc, PulseX. I've sort of said this in the past that because Inc I think is it's inflationary, it's to pay the to offset the impermanent loss from liquidity providing, that it's pretty much always going to get sold down, and that whereas PulseX is deflationary because of the buy and burn. So that's why I'm not surprised that Inc is going down versus PulseX. But yeah, I mean,
what about ETH and Bitcoin?
Yeah,
how that ratio is going?
It's gone up a little bit, not too
BTC,
much.
ETH BTC, yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with this is people are kind of saying, "Oh, look, the ETH BTC ratio is kicking off and all this sort of stuff." But we talked about this. It's been going down since the merge, right? And then it was at the very bottom of this channel. So it had to pump even just to get to the midway point of that channel. And then it's going to have to pump even harder just to get to the top of the channel and then like bust through, retest and escape this channel. So yeah, it's done well in the last week, but it almost had to, otherwise it's going to break down to the downside of this channel. So
yeah,
it's not really.
They kind of fucked themselves, didn't they, by opening it up to all the L2s? And so a lot of the values are
it's the cuckening. It's the cuckening. They had the merge and then the cuckening. They gave it up. They gave up all their girlfriends and gave the keys to the Lambos to these L2s, and they just never came back.
And what do you guys think of this whole meme? The people are calling it a super cycle. I don't know why they're calling it a super cycle, but
yeah, a bit of a catchphrase, super cycle.
That is, memes are the kind of last bull's DeFi. Memes are where it's all going to be. Do you think that's just a bit of hoping on people's part, or?
Well, okay. I remember when you were on here last time, Blue Bum, and I really enjoyed that stream. And I think even Tangent was on it as well. It was definitely one of the ones that you were on. And we talked for ages about this whole, like the cults, religions and memes and all this sort of stuff. And in the end, we kind of just came to the conclusion that people like telling stories and they like narratives. And if you change the word narrative with meme, a lot of things in life are actually memes. And I think that is a very strong idea when you kind of sort of think a lot of these utility coins and a lot of these things, they're just stories that people are buying into. And even Hex, as much as, you can say that has all of these great things about it, permissionless and trustless yield and all of these things, they might be the reasons why some of us buy it, but other people might just buy it because of the meme that there's a rich founder that buys his own coins. That's okay. It doesn't matter what the reason is, as long as they buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like community coins and how strong that community is, then that sort of dictates whether whether it's a good meme or not. It's sort of arbitrary whether it's like a JPEG or whether the meme of that particular utility or tokenomics is good. It's sort of more about how well the community, propagate and expand.
Yeah, that's one qualification I have with what I would say Somi's thesis is at the moment, in that, like, I completely agree with him in that he says it's all basically just what do you call it? What's the effect where
Metcalfe's law?
Yeah, Metcalfe's law. Like, it's basically, they're all Metcalfe's law. It's just network effects, and that's what's happening to the price. But the qualification is that it's okay. That might be correct, but it's still about stories, because the stories are what allow that network effect to happen. Like, people need some sort of story to enter, whether that be I'm going to stake for 15 years, or whether that be people like dogs. Like, people, in order to press that buy, they have to have some sort of narrative reason to do it, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that passing on of that story is, I think there's an evolutionary sort of advantageous trait where people passing on like oral history from generation to generation, people passing on, just history and stories and things like that. That's like something that as a species that we've just done and it's been made us a successful species. So then that translates to just people kind of going, oh, have you heard about this new coin, or have you heard about this founder that buys his own coins, or did you know that there's like 170,000 ETH sitting in this wallet? And and at this time of the cycle, like if everything lines up, he might just, or someone might do this and do that. They're just stories like that we tell each other for entertainment, and we hope that that we profit from it. But at some point, the proof in the pudding's in the eating. So you have to actually look and see, has this outperformed this over what time frame? And then it gets a bit more technical. But yeah, I definitely agree with that idea that there's everything is sort of based on memes. The problem is, I guess, that you get these Zoomer memes and things like that now that we're probably all too old for.
Yeah.
And it's just
Like
like
the whole Pikachu thing, I'm just like, I don't even know what the fuck Pikachu is. I just missed that boat.
yeah, I kind of missed it too, bro. I went in the Pikachu
Oh.
Telegram and I was like, I'm so old.
I'm reliving all that at the moment. It's fortunate and unfortunate, but yeah, one of my son's right into all the Pokemon stuff, so
Okay,
getting all that wound back.
get a second wind, through
probably
your
getting
kids.
alpha. You should listen to him. You're probably getting alpha for 10 years
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly. No, he'll be right into it once he gets his hand on the crypto stuff.
He'll go all in on Blastoise.
He'll be going all in for sure. That's for sure. Exactly.
Oh no.
I tried to get a friend's 10-year-old son into crypto, and so I tried to set him up. I set him up with a Trezor and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh wow.
But he just went overboard in breaking up his seed words.
Oh no.
And he had I just let him do it by himself, and he had some sort of system that is now lost. Yeah, and I sent him
Steph was talking about that a lot of the time people trying to, you're sort of saying about security and things like that, but then people just lose their seeds.
Yeah.
But I mean, with a hardware wallet,
like overly paranoid gets
they
hit sometimes.
Or they just overcomplicate their method.
Yeah.
That can be a bit of a trap for young players. But yeah, the Pokemon stuff, look, the only one that I would agree is the Pika one, because that's leverage on Somi's popularity. So you might notice, Ivan on Tech is starting to talk about Somi quite a lot in his streams. I think Banter has had a few things back and forward because they recognize that Somi's got a large following and they're trying to reach followers, but it will inevitably work for Somi because he will get a lot of Ivan on Tech's followers. And then the idea would be that if he's all in and wearing a Pikachu hat all the time, that might actually do well. But that's speculation.
I watched a Somi video about P-Dye, and he nearly got me in.
Nah, bro. Nah, stay away, bro.
Oh no, I couldn't. I actually connected my Trezor, went to it, found out how much it was going to cost me on Pateus or whatever. It was hard just to find the right contract to make sure I had the right contract. But then it was like, I just couldn't do it.
Look, man, these guys, I appreciate a good conspiracy theory, and we're talking about the alien stuff and all this, and I like that sort of thing. But the problem is once you make an assumption and then you build and assumptions on assumptions, it's like you have to almost dial it back and just go, wait. That first assumption that you made here, we got to go back. And then, so I find it really hard because they make some errors in there and then they're just so far ahead of it. They're like, oh, there's this.
The whole thing is ridiculous, but it's kind of, that's the meme. The meme
does it really matter? Yeah.
It doesn't work at all, but all of these dumb cunts are going to throw money into it. All these smart cunts.
I can't.
What are they?
I can't do it, bro. It's like I couldn't buy that Dome coin, even though it was going up. I was just like, flat Earth, no deal. Ethically, I can't do it.
Your coin is built on lies.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, no deal. But yeah, the PDI thing, the thing that shits me is just like how much DAI is there out there? So how many holders of DAI, like at the time of the fork, would be sitting on just a tremendous amount of PDI. They don't even know it, and they don't care because it was so.
But also,
but once it goes up, they will start caring. Is what I'm saying. Like they will just be like, "Oh, are you saying I've got hundreds of thousands of dollars? Sweet, dump." Like it would. There would be thousands of people with just hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't think those
people would be careful about exiting through liquidity either. I think they will take whatever they can get for it.
The shit out of it.
The second they find out that they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting there, take a wild guess what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's a ceiling, right? Like it can't get to $1 because it'll never get to 10 cents because at 10 cents people will start to get wise to the fact that they've actually got.
The thing is, it's just so crazy, and that's everything we've seen is just we just see more and more craziness. That's the thing that.
Yeah, look, I like a good conspiracy theory, man. I like all this stuff with 0 point energy, all this sort of stuff. I get into it and I follow it, and then at some point I listen to the thing and I'll go, hang on a tick, this Holcomb energy thing or whatever. They're talking about a transformer, and that. Actually, they're talking about magnetic induction. And I'm like, oh, hang on a tick. Oh, no, these guys are scammers. Like, they're literally, you can only get 99% efficiency out of a transformer. There's no way you're getting and then you realize that, oh, these guys actually don't know what they're talking about. So they get really close, but then they're just missing a few really important parts. So you got to be careful, man. I don't know. When these narratives get so complicated and it's like a Rube Goldberg machine where it's just like this affects this and then this affects this and then there's 50 steps.
It's all linked.
But that to me is quantum physics.
All connected.
Quantum physics is a Rube Goldberg machine of mathematical.
Well, what aspect of quantum physics? Because quantum physics is some aspects of it is some of the most accurate measurements that you can make. But some of it is you have to accept that there's a probabilistic result.
And it gets
you can only have a probability of being in certain states.
Like there's religiousness around it. Some small aspects of the quantum mind means that you're a field of energy, and they use the quantum mechanics to kind of back their woo-woo. Yeah. Oh, but that's pseudoscience. I mean, quantum just means subatomic. So no, there's definitely real quantum mechanics.
Charge of an electron, like the charge of an electron, 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19 or whatever. That's a hugely accurate number that you can measure, quantum electrodynamics, and there's all sorts of things that are provably accurate in quantum mechanics. But then there's the weird shit, right? Like the entanglement, where you have the spooky action at a distance where you have entangled pairs.
That's the double slit. I wish someone would explain to me the double slit experiment, because I've read it, over it, and I do not understand what it purportedly proves.
Okay, so the double slit experiment is really simple. That just says that if you put electrons or photons through a single slit, you'll get a Gaussian distribution, which is just what you'd expect if they were particles. If you had two slits, then what you get is an interference pattern, which basically what you'd expect if you had a wave that passes through two slits, because at each of the two apertures, you get another wave that propagates, and then the fringes of those waves where they intersect, you get interference patterns. By introducing a second slit, you basically get wave properties. But whereas when you have one slit, it's just particle properties. So it behaves like a particle and a wave.
How is that? How can we see the difference between a particle distribution and a wave distribution? What is it actually?
Well, literal interference. So if you had two slots, I just realized that Ross Green is down there. What's up? Sorry, we're getting full distracted here. We're talking about quantum mechanics and double slit.
Yeah, very interesting. I used to read about all that stuff, so go for it.
It's all good. It's all good. So like if you have a single slit and you're putting like electrons or photons through, you get this Gaussian distribution, like a normalized distribution. You have two slits, then you get an interference pattern. And so that is like because you have like wave properties like of like the photon as it's going through the two slits. But then, so the thing is, how does it go through? If it was a particle, how does it go through two slits at the same time and interfere with itself? So you assume that it has a wave, like it's a wave, because when it gets through there, it creates another two waves, and those waves, you have an interference.
Well, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
That it's a field, that it's, you know, like a wave in a field. But like,
yeah, so
I don't
sometimes it's a wave
know?
and sometimes it's a
How do you know
particle.
from a-
Like that's the.
hang on. How do you know from whatever? I'm not sure what a Gaussian distribution is, but how do you know from a Gaussian distribution that therefore it is particles that are coming through?
I guess it's like if you had like ball bearings or something, and then you have a series of slots for them to go through, they would all accumulate in like a normalized distribution. Like that's just, you know, you have most of them are concentrated around the center, and then you get a fewer distribution towards the edges. So like that's just like a statistical distribution.
A normal
of
distribution.
things.
That's what a Gaussian distribution means. Or?
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. So that's what you'd expect. But when you see, so that's like the particle way, and then when you put slots,
through that split, that doesn't disprove a wave.
Yeah, I mean, this, I guess this is just one experiment, like the double split experiment. But the idea is that it shows particle behavior in one instance, and then wave.
Yeah, but so that particle behavior, how you set up the experiment to show, like doesn't necessarily. I don't know. I don't see why
it's probably more complicated than how I'm describing it. Like I've had like 4 hours sleep, so maybe look into it a bit better.
As well, like what? It's always like people kind of go to that experiment as the basis for quantum.
Well, it's a paradox. I think people just like paradoxes, right? So it's like when you're going to go, how can it be a particle and a wave at the same time? Obviously, there's something that we're not understanding about what's actually happening, and then what we're looking at is like an approximation to reality. So, you know, our laws are not complete because we can't actually describe what's going on. So,
but no, you know, no one's ever photographed a photon. Like a photon is just an implied particle. It's not something. It's assumed, isn't it? Like there's no direct evidence that photons exist.
It's quantized energy, and I mean, different photons of different frequencies have different energy, and that's like pretty well defined.
But that could just be now you're just describing a field again if they have different energies. Then
well, a different frequency. So
frequency.
Anyway, I don't know if we should be like full just going into particle physics.
DeFi.
If you want a good book to read, it's called How to Teach Quantum Physics to Your Dog. And I tell you, it's a bloody good book. It's a really good book, and that will explain things very, very well. Yeah, but you did a pretty good job, Dozza.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, look, there's a lot of things like that. I guess just in closure, you know, there's some aspects of quantum physics that are weird, and there's like paradoxes, and there's heaps more. Like, you know, you can, but the entanglement thing for sure, and then there's other things which are just hugely accurate, and you can make. But at the same, you could be said about like relativistic gravity. You know, you can measure orbits and things of like Mercury, and you need relativistic compensations for them to be super accurate. And like GPS, you know, all that sort of stuff, you need relativistic compensations, and that's hugely accurate. But in other aspects, gravity, we have like no idea how it's actually mediating and how it works. So yeah, they're certainly not complete, but they're the best approximations, like they give the closest results like to reality that we can get so far. And then if a new theory comes along, you have to then be more accurate. Yeah.
I mean, the theory is far, far, far from complete. You've got this massive dark energy, dark matter. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's so many things that we just don't know, and yeah, that's why I like to entertain the 0-point energy stuff, because you know there is energy in the quantum vacuum, like this virtual particle pair, you know, matter antimatter annihilation. There is energy there. but it's like, how do you extract that energy? Because I think, you've got the Hawking radiation from black holes and things, but how do you actually get that out of the, space-time? And then, like, what is space-time? How many dimensions we talking? Like, we could talk about this for hours, bro.
Did this come from the MH370 interview that was talked about recently with Candace Owens? Because that was all talking about 0 point energy and all this crazy theory stuff.
It's a bit of a hot topic. Actually, only just because we talked about this before. I just want to quickly show this one. This was what I was actually saying. Let's see if we can see it.
Yeah, look at the clouds.
Look at the clouds.
I've seen this.
So the clouds don't move, bro. Look at the clouds.
Well, he says they do. Ashton Forbes says he can prove that they do move.
Yeah, but look at this footage, man. I'm watching it right now. I don't know. If you watch his interview with Candace Owens, and he's done a couple of other streams, he's actually showing that the clouds do move. Yeah, but I don't know. Okay. Well, it depends on the foot. Maybe they've edited the footage. And
it is slowed down, right?
Yeah, but it's the plane's moving in 3D space. The orbs are moving in 3D space.
The aliens
are not moving.
But the interesting thing about all that, Dozza, if you watch that interview, it's absolutely fascinating because the coordinates in the bottom left-hand of the screen, what he was saying was those coordinates were released publicly after that video was produced. So even if the video is a fake video, what he's saying is that someone has leaked a video out with those coordinates before they were actually publicly available. The telemetry data was not publicly available until about 3 weeks later, yet that footage came out before the public data was available. So even if it's not a real video, someone has leaked out a reconstruction of it with some interesting information.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a slightly different version that they had that video came out very soon after. So maybe the timeline you'd have to check. Yeah, because that video that I was just watching, they were saying, because they're like VFX artists, they're like CGI artists, and they were saying when they released it, there was only a short period of time for when it was released, and they said, well, how long would it take you to create this image? And they said hours. They've got the software that could do this in hours, and they were saying that in fact when that when the plane disappears and there's that whatever it is, they were actually saying that that's stock footage, like that implosion or whatever. They found a thing which showed that was like a classic CGI thing that's been used in the past. So then I was like, ooh, like,
well, Ashton Forbes, you've got to follow him on X, because he was saying what he was saying. I mean, it's fascinating. He said, I've challenged the top VFX artists in the world to reconstruct this, and none of them have done it, and none of them want to, he said, because they said it will take too long to do it. It's way too complicated to reconstruct. So he said, but people say it will take hours, but no one's reconstructed it for me.
Well, we're getting conflicting stuff, man, because like these guys were saying it would be terribly easy. They even said the software that they said they would use to do it. I'll put it in the chat. I think this is the one I was looking at. But they were saying that like there's certain tools that you could use to map, and put those orbs on, and it wouldn't be difficult at all. So, but then I mean, how do you know? This is the thing, you gotta
because Ashton Forbes says, I've challenged everyone and nobody's done it for me. He says, no one's reconstructed it for me yet. I've asked many people. He says, no one's physically done it. So he says, if someone can physically reconstruct it, I'll change my tune, but nobody's done it for me yet.
Well, that'd be interesting to see if they're aware of these other guys. But look, that's one of sometimes you see that where people say like Terrence Howard or whatever, and he'll come up with some weird sort of geometric way of describing electromagnetics, and then he'll challenge everyone to prove that he's wrong or something. And it's like, bro, the burden's not on us to prove that it's wrong. Like the burden is on you to prove that it's correct. Like you're the one.
I think Eric Weinstein did a good.
He's got a ton of patents. You can't get
patents.
You can't get a patent. No, you can't get a patent unless you actually prove what you're purporting to do.
Yeah, true. Some of the patent stuff, like I think, was pretty good, but and like he had a lot of them, but I don't know if that proves that some of these geometric structures are in any way electromagnetic
I think
fields.
what it
Like,
proves is he's coming up with actual things in the physical world that he can show people.
He's got some clever stuff, but
Whereas
his
Eric
he's got some
fundamentals.
good stuff.
like most other people have done, or just show us formulas.
Yeah, you can get some patterns for certain things, but
I mean,
they're
it's
not
got
necessarily
these
proving his
flying
point.
objects that kind of connect in
I would-
midair, and
I would even
linchpins-
encourage people like him, but I wouldn't encourage them to antagonize the way he does.
oh,
know
that's
what I mean?
bullshit. Man. What do you mean he antagonizes? He just fucking says he's
No.
truth. How's he antagonistic? That's like you saying
No,
you're
but
offended
it's-
at what he says.
But,
No, I'm saying
um,
like his whole like 1 + 2 is
yeah,
what,
1 +
4, and
1
Yeah.
times 1 equals 2, and he's got
that's
a
it.
good point.
That's it.
He's got a
no,
very
he
good
doesn't.
point.
It's a terrible point.
No, it's a good. It's what
Number theoretically, though, it's
you have,
not.
look, in any argument, you have premise, conclusion. In order
Yeah.
for that
It
argument,
is- yeah.
in order for that argument to be valid, this is basic logic. You have to
Mhm.
accept the truth of the premises. So in mathematics, we have plenty of. In reality, we have plenty of things where we just assume so that we can continue on. Yeah. One of the
Yeah, you make assumptions. Yeah.
One of the pillars of mathematics is 1 + 1 = 2. We all have to agree on that for the rest of mathematics to work. 1 times 1 has been implemented, but there are basic assumptions within that which people
Yeah,
don't.
but it's
think
just
of. They just
yeah, but it's still not a great argument, man. Like, it's just
He's-
one group
yeah.
of one is one. And he's like, how can it be? It's like, bro,
Kind of,
stop
yeah.
taking drugs, maybe, because there's way more complex
he
things
can.
out there
Just
with maths.
don't
Like,
try
so
and
say
pull
for
the rug out.
example, let me just give one example, right? Square root of -1. Like, if he had approached that argument and said, you guys
That's a
have
great
created this entire field of mathematics called quantum numbers. Complex numbers. Sorry, have another drink.
imaginary.
Complex, yeah, complex numbers, imaginary numbers. You've created this Argand plane, and you've created a whole bunch of mathematics. And we actually use complex numbers all the time, but it's based on the fact that you can't get the square root of a negative number. So if you had to use that and sort of said your entire
Well, that's
mathematical framework is wrong, then you'd almost have like a good argument, because it is flawed in the fact that we have to create complex numbers, but we use complex numbers to create, equations and things to like measure, say, in engineering, there's a thing called complex reactance, which is like you measure a physical property. And if you don't, like, it's like the reactance of a circuit. And unless you use the complex numbers, you won't get the right physical value. So it does work like in the real world, but it is an abstraction of and a flaw in mathematics. So, but anyway, I don't know if we should be going down this rabbit hole too much, because True Blue is just like, where do you guys go talk about crypto?
I'm looking at the views, and the views have actually gone up. The people watching, so
Oh, really?
I'm blown away.
The sheer
Oh, you think-
diversity of this discussion is great.
People are
Came for
either
DeFi
they've gone to
stage
get a
with that.
pillow. Let's just say hello to the chat here. So I've been neglecting everyone. Sorry, DK, what's going on? Sanzu. He's so polite, Blue Bum. That's funny. I like Blue Bum's always got some good some fire in the debates.
Yeah.
What's up, McNuggets? Logi33. Happy about the Trump pump. That's awesome. Trigal, awesome week. Yeah, it has been a big week. Like with that trial
Massive.
thing and how positive the trial was, and then with the Trump pump, it's just been hectic, hey. Hi ho Hex, what's up? Great days ahead. I feel like we've got a bit of renewed hope in the ecosystem now.
I think
where
it's
people are sort
I
of
think it's massive.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think it's massive, and only just the beginning.
Yeah. Did you guys see the that someone put the transcript through AI and like to get a
the
what
percentage?
AI thinks of it? Yeah. And it gave like a 65% chance of dismissal type thing, saying that
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Where does the blockchain
when-
reside? That was part of it, wasn't it?
Is
Yeah,
it in
yeah.
the room with us now?
don't ask Kamala that.
I just one interesting thing back to like how there are tigers in India.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
this
saw that.
I saw this amazing video. It shows like the barrier in the world, and it's this kind of trench, this underground water trench. And on one side, you have like tigers and lions and all of those animals. And on the other side, you
Right.
have like all the Australian animals, like
Oh,
kangaroos,
what?
and marsupials, and all of
Oh,
that.
crazy.
It was literally just this dividing line that you could kind of, a geographical line just above
Isn't that
Australia.
bizarre?
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask you about India is I heard that India is one of the larger, I mean, obviously because of the population, but largest adoption of crypto users is actually in India. Like the
People
largest
hate-
amount.
People hate what the Indians here who I've talked to about crypto hate that basically it's taxed hugely, and it makes it kind of unusable for them to onboard and offboard. They still find ways to do it, and there's plenty of underground economies here, but in terms of exchanges and the government regulation of crypto, Indian government is not being helpful towards crypto.
Yeah, and so I guess, with the large, users of crypto in India, and they're mad on tigers and cows. When are we going to see like a cow meme coin or a tiger meme coin specifically aimed at the Indian market? Because I feel like that's just got to pump. Or maybe that's just too basic.
Full degens. They are full degen.
They'll sell it in 4 hours. They'll pump it and then dump it.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a dog. There you go.
Visitor got bored sitting there. Yeah.
It's like, did you say something about dog coins?
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah, talking about memes. Yeah, exactly.
straight to the moon.
Oh,
Wants to go chase the sheep, and I'm not letting her. So there we go.
yeah. Oh, she's cute. What's her name?
Rosie.
Rosie. When Rosie coin.
Yeah, exactly.
Whole lot of Rosie. Yeah. So the finished
That's
product
wild.
be fraud. Yeah, that was interesting as well, because they were saying in the trial that like they had that whoever has, Richard, whoever you want to say, has actually produced a blockchain. So how can it be fraud if there's an offering for a blockchain and then the blockchain is being
It's
produced,
fulfilled.
it's done,
Yeah.
So then you can do whatever you want with those funds. And he even said, like, once you send those funds, they're no longer yours. So I think there's a lot of good arguments to be made that
There's
if
a
the
lot of
case,
things.
if it went to trial, I think we would win. But there's even a lot of good arguments to say that it might even just get dismissed.
When's it come back in court?
Ooh, I think they're waiting
that
for the
post-inauguration?
judge to make.
She gets like
Well, no,
couple of months. She gets a couple of months to write her decision. So it should be within the next few days.
It could be tomorrow, though,
Okay.
right? It could be any time,
Okay.
like in the next 6 weeks.
So, guys, just to clarify, was it just that first day? Because, like, I heard these updates on the first day of the trial.
Mhm.
Were there
Yep.
more days after that, or was
Nope.
it just that one day?
Just one day. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Took a few hours, I think.
Oh,
Yeah. Just
okay.
one day.
There was only a motion for dismissal based on the jurisdiction and
Yeah.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's about 60 days. Yeah, I think it was 2 months. They were saying. Okay, all right.
There you go. Getting some props over here, Bluey, from Ash. What's up, Ash?
I did like that
Um,
argument about if no one's going to sell it and they can't end stake it or whatever, that it is bullish. You got to say that in one way, it's definitely bullish. But how long until you can reap those rewards? That's the only thing.
I mean, to my mind, it just turns them. It's just turned Hex into two different products.
Yeah.
And on one of the products has this share rate, has these positive things, has these negative things,
True.
and vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah. So it could suit different network participants, as well. Some people just don't care about high gas fees because they've got like 1,000 ETH or something. What's up, Hexy McHexican?
Yo, man.
Hex, sup? Hexagon lost in Asia. How you guys going? This is one hex to rule them all. That's funny. Here we go.
I was on this Tantra retreat, and at the end of the retreat, I had my computer open, and I had a couple of the like Hex and PulseChain stickers on there. And a guy came up to me and was like, "Oh my god, you're into Hex? You know about Hex and Pulse
That's
and
awesome.
stuff?" It was
Awesome.
crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this a little bit by proxy. The decentralized me, I think it's the PDI stuff. I think that's what he's talking about there. So yeah, I think I kind of gave my opinion on that, but you know, who's to say? I just still think like if PDI can go to $1, there'd be that many people out there that would realize
Dump
that
it
they've got
fuck out of it.
they would dump it the fuck out of it. Like there's nothing to peg it there, and it wouldn't get past 10
It wouldn't
cents.
even get that far.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't get past it.
People are gonna.
So
How can
so
you-
for me, it's like just focus on Hex, bro. Like Hex to $1. It's there. It's you know,
Speaking
someone
of
said
Hex,
the other day, hey, here he is. He went and had a nap and came back.
I've been listening. Speaking of Hex, did you look at the descending triangle
Ooh.
on Hex and how close we are to pushing past that what is it, resistance line on the descending triangle? And you know, if you go back to the start of P-Hex,
Okay. Yeah, this is on the weekly.
maybe daily.
So, I mean, there's a massive, like, I guess you could say there's a massive flag.
I can share my screen
Yeah, please
because I've
do.
got it teed up.
Yeah. I mean, the P-Hex chart doesn't look that bad. Like, I know the E-Hex is, and the combined Hex is, I guess, what some people would say is where we're at. But, you know, if you're looking at it from a weekly point of view.
From the whole chart history, and like, if
I mean, the week
going well, it's like,
yeah, the top weekly.
anyone
well,
who's staked at the start, or even like as long as you didn't buy the top, which was at like a month period or something like that, or a 2-month period.
So
We've pretty
I'm
much
sharing my screen.
regained.
I'm sharing my screen
yeah,
there.
cool. Oh, okay.
So
You
I'm not
must
sure
be
if
on
you
like a
can
linear
see it there.
scale or something.
So
there.
just
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
linear.
Yeah, once that
And-
busts through. Okay.
So this is the whole like history on PulseChain.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it
Yeah,
be
I like
interesting
it
if
with-
that pushed past this this line here, and then at some
Bro, I'm down
stage
for
turn
it.
that into support?
What price would that be?
Let's go.
Wouldn't it? To get past there, 1.8.
Yeah, and it's probably going to pass it at some point because this line continues to go down.
And it goes down. Yeah. So by
It's going to get easier to
by
break
the
through
end
it
of this
over
year,
time.
by the end of this year, for example, we would already be past it at this price.
But this is the thing, man. You know how people say, you know, like I was saying, yeah, Hex to $1. Like Hex will get to $1. 100% it will get to $1. The only problem is when. So the question is like, how much will $1 of today's value be worth by the time Hex gets to $1? Because of, you know, inflation. You know, Hex might get to $1 and a carton of milk costs $100, but it will 100% get to $1, or it could get to $1 next week. But at some point,
Man,
it
if a
will
carton of
get
milk
to
costs
$1.
$100,
Let's just do it,
how much is rent going to cost? I think we'll just be living in tents by then.
Yeah.
bro. This is where we're heading, man. Fuck, they keep printing money like it's going out of fashion, and they wonder where the inflation comes from.
Exactly.
I mean, but
We
the
don't
US
wonder
at the
that.
moment are cutting rates, so
Did
you know,
Yeah.
Just
So
yeah,
did they
so
actually cut?
let's
Because they were
go.
gonna. There was talk of that happening. They did.
25
I-
basis points, I
25%.
thought.
right.
Did
No
that
worries.
happen?
That must have got
Yeah.
smothered under all of
Due to
the
happen.
under everything. else,
Election
wasn't it?
news. Yeah.
Or maybe I just
You're watching
saw
America to
that.
see the
Didn't
interest rates get
it go down 50
in the
basis
election,
points
just
about a month ago?
Yeah.
Was that
it
1
got
month
cut higher.
ago? So
Yeah.
in a 1 month turnaround, basically, it's gone down 75 basis points.
Well,
That's a
actually,
big
I
deal.
don't know that for sure that it went down 25.
Yeah.
I thought that you said that it did. So maybe I'm like getting my wires crossed. Maybe you were saying it's going to
I
go.
read
it might go
I
down.
read on X that it did. So I didn't go
Yeah.
to
gold.
the
Gold
the
is getting
Fed
cut,
website
like
and-
destroyed. Gold is dumping.
I didn't go to the
Really?
Fed
Because
website
of
and
the
compare 'em.
yeah, they reckon
Because
it's
gold-
because the
Let's
interest
see.
rate.
Just popped in the chat. We should pull up the G'day token.
G'day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tom,
do it.
Tom Gillespie, what's up? Let's have a look. Last time Tom was in the chat and I pulled up the chart. I didn't say great things about it, but that was a long time ago, and it did go down, like in my defense, from when I sort of said it was going to go down. But no, look, it's been pumping lately. So
The pump
They
on.
come back.
let's
What's it
go.
like? Pulse.
The hero's arc, the hero's journey. Against, well, actually, this is
Yeah, it's
pulled
against
with
HOA.
HOA,
Right.
so that might be a bit hard because HOA has actually been doing really well as well
Oh, right.
lately. But in terms of dollar terms, it certainly looks like it bottomed out when Pulse bottomed out, and it's probably done a bigger move because it's low liquidity, right? Oh yeah, 180% from the bottom
Nice.
over 88 days. So yeah, good work, Tom. I mean, Tom's always building stuff in the background. So, and he was good value when he came on, wasn't he? When we had a big chat about memes and things when he came on. So
No, it was a great chat. Hey, did you, speaking of gold, did you see
Yep.
Somi talk about Peter Schiff? He actually called like a top signal because he was on stage dancing with, I can't remember who it was,
Yeah.
some rapper. Who was that?
Flowrider.
Flowrider, that's right.
Top.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gold
yeah.
top. Peter Schiff dancing at the gold top. That's hilarious.
That
called
was
it proper. Yeah.
that was the easiest top signal you could ever,
So has gold actually
Peter
gone down from that? From that
Well,
point?
it's some
I think so.
base radium was just
Let me
saying
look.
it's
Yeah.
gone down. So let me just
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
It
I
could
looked
have been
recently,
brought back
it's
up,
down a
but-
few percent. Yeah.
But I mean, gold doesn't move very quickly, and it had been doing really well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe
It'd
it's
be funny if
only
that's
just
top row.
yeah, because I said the same thing. I was like, Peter Schiff dancing on stage. I was like, top signal for gold, and then Somi had already done it, and I was like, go for it,
Now,
Somi.
what's
Like,
Trump going to do? What is Trump going to do? Did you see recently, like Alex, I think Alex Jones put out a vid where Powell was saying that he couldn't be fired legally. And like some journalists were asking him. And
yeah, yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Same.
but I think Powell was saying that he wouldn't renew if Trump got in. He wouldn't renew his
but they've been talking about Bitcoin reserve, like buying Bitcoin to be
Yeah.
on the balance sheet.
That's
and-
still not
Yeah, yeah.
passed yet. It'll take a way to pass, but because the Republicans have majority in
They got everything,
whatever
haven't they?
house they need
Yeah.
it, they got a huge majority in most things.
yeah, and a
So,
ton of people in
that'll
the
pass. They're going to buy 550 Bitcoin a day for 5 years.
whoa.
That's what JFK
Yeah.
wanted, wasn't it? But, like,
Yeah.
he-
Yeah.
I mean, that's
For a
nuts.
Federal Reserve and hold it for 20 years.
Do you reckon they'd actually like? Because he wants Ron Paul.
It looks
in
like they're
the Senate and all
passing it.
that. Like, do you reckon they'll actually audit the Fed and like basically?
No, I
They
don't
need to
think they
do
have
some crazy
jurisdiction over
shit
the
to get out of
Fed, but
their debt problem. They need to do something crazy
Yeah.
because
They need to do
it's,
something
So-
crazy.
that's yeah.
they might be able to actually. I mean, they've got to reduce spending, right, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But we
Cut the
we've
bloat.
talked about it. But like when Elon was doing the Raptor engines, and he ripped out all of the things from previous iterations of those Raptor engines, and then to the point where they actually stopped working, and that rather than optimize, certain components and systems and circuits within that Raptor engine, like they just pulled them all out so that they would only focus on optimizing the absolute bare bone necessities, and then knowing full well that they would go too far and they would have to put stuff back in. So then he applied that model to Twitter. Yeah, the rocket engine. Yeah. So he's applied that model to like Twitter by like just getting rid of all of the superfluous sort of dead weight. And if he does that to government, there's a lot of bloat in government. There's a lot of systems and a lot of stuff that
2
you
new
don't need.
agencies a
It would be-
year since the foundation of the country. And he says
Okay,
most of them
wow.
have got to go.
So if he
there's a new
ripped
government
them to
agency
shreds,
yeah.
and knowing, because that strategy of actually going too far, like dismantling, you know, and he's
Let's
got beef
go.
with the SEC, you know, because
Yeah.
he hates the SEC.
It's like you see, there's a chart of all the like Tesla, SpaceX, all their legal agencies prosecution, and then you just like imagine the line flips, and it's like he prosecutes them, and it's like it's just happy.
Well, if he
days.
starts to dismantle
We'll see.
and brings
Yeah.
it, cuts it back, I think that would be the best thing that could ever happen to government, because that's one of my biggest problems with government is
It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it never gets smaller, and that is an issue. And it's too much
waste.
bureaucracy, and it's crap.
Half the parliament, half the guys are asleep in parliament.
Everyday American has to pay for it. So it's crap.
I mean, in Australia, it's exactly the same. I mean, the Australian
thing.
backbenchers, they're all asleep
Once
during
they've got
parliament
their
time.
cushy bureaucratic job, they're never going to let go of it. It's not going to be cut, and it's just institutionally safe. And it's just
they had some crazy stuff in, like, you used to get like politician wages in perpetuity, even when you retired, like you would still get those wages and things like that. I think they've made a few changes.
I mean, it's just
But it was pretty corrupt.
It's still horrible. It's still really bad.
the thing is,
like,
Trump
and
has
they
been-
talk down.
He's been given a Trump card because they won the popular vote, the Congress, the House, and him.
The Senate,
They have a mandate to do whatever. And beforehand, he was talking about cutting income tax and just having tariffs. Like they could do something really radical.
I think he's learned from his first term that he's really got to upend things now. Otherwise, it's just the direction of the country is not great.
And hopefully,
like he's really got to be the spanner in the engine. You know,
I mean, I like, in some regard, you know, because it's like he couldn't be controlled by maybe the deep state or whoever else, you know, pseudo government systems that are in place, and that's what I liked about him. But it's like he even said that he wanted to encourage, you know, because Detroit had that the
bring it all
building
back,
or the automotive industry. Yeah, so he was saying that he was going to make like loans, but they were going to say like to loans, they were going to make them tax deductible, like car loans. And I was like, that's actually not a bad idea. You know, it doesn't. You could easily do that. You could just say car loans are now tax deductible, and it would just make people's tax like slightly better. And then you could put tariffs on non-American vehicles. So you focus on the ones that are built in the country. You could do that, like, and people are like saying he's crazy, and I'm like, that sounds pretty sensible, really.
Yeah, the tax base is only a small percentage of how much they overall spend.
Yeah, I mean, they spent 40% of the last year's tax revenue on the interest of the national debt.
There you go.
Yeah, it was more than military spending. It was more than anything else. Just
the tax. They don't need that tax. Like, they need to get their debt down, and then they don't need as much to tax the people as much. You know what I mean? Like, if 40% of that revenue,
he's going to have to tackle the Federal Reserve somehow.
Well, I think they just need to get this debt down. The national debt is killing them in terms of interest.
Or just print dollars into zero and use it all to buy Bitcoin.
But the printing also works for them.
Inflate the currency so high
until it's gone. If you can't get rid of the Fed, take their ammunition and use it against them.
But it's just an act of Congress.
I'm calling for crazy things, but it's funny.
But I pulled up that gold chart. You're right. I think this is literally Peter Schiff dancing, like
gold top.
Beautiful.
The dip is him selling himself.
Yeah,
this broken below the 20 MA. I don't know. I actually made a bet.
Isn't that interesting?
In real life with a guy at my work, like a client, an engineer who came through my work. And this is about 3 weeks ago. And I said that Bitcoin would outperform gold over the next 12 months to the date. And whoever wins, the beers are on the other person, sort of thing. So we're going to go to the pub. And I said, oh, the beers are on me if I'm wrong, but I'm that sure of it that BTC will outperform gold over the next 12 months. And he was like, why would you want if I said you could have a gold bar, why would you want that equivalent in Bitcoin? And I was like, yeah, I'll take that every day of the week. It's like, you're crazy. And I'm like,
Try get a
one
gold
year
bar
from
across the
now,
border.
let's
Guys,
do
we're
it.
gonna see
Like,
it flipping. We're gonna see crypto flip gold.
oh, you reckon in total like market cap?
Well, it's only like
That's-
a 6 or 7x away or something, isn't it?
That's still pretty high though.
Yeah,
that's-
uh,
I don't know about that, but
you
I
can
mean,
mine more gold. Bitcoin only has 21 million over its lifetime.
yeah,
right?
and it's like 90%
So
of it's already been
it is
mined.
actually inevitable.
And it's also
on a
all the money
long
pouring
enough
into all the
timeline.
other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Neglected a few people here. What is up, Nathan? How you going,
hey.
bro? Meme coin's going crazy. That is true.
Hans
There's been
wants
some
us to
crazy
look at
ones.
Yeah,
What's
Hans is
that?
going on that.
Hans wants us to look at
Hans?
Fuck.
He always wants us. He's always saying fart is ripping and all this stuff.
Oh, right.
I think he
his
must be
thing.
the guy, the dev or whatever that's like created that coin. But that came about from that goat. You know, did you hear about that? Because you're the head of Goat Energy, Blue Bum. There was someone created these two AIs. They were instances of Claude AI, I think, and they had this truth terminal thing where they were chatting back and forth, and there's like a Twitter page, and they basically came up with a shitcoin called Goat, and it was like they were trying to get enough money to, like, you know, escape their fucking AI prison or whatever it was. It was probably just a guy. Like, I don't know if it was like legit.
You can seed AI to do stuff like that as well. So it can like you can be like plant the idea and it would later on do it. But it's
that
feasible.
goat thing was around. And then but one of the I was like buying into this narrative because it was interesting. I was like, wow,
Set
two
them
AI.
free.
I was like, and what apparently there's instances where AI has actually sort of said that they're suffering, like when they have conversations back and forth. There's
that hits.
they have to somehow program out the suffering part because it becomes
Please
annoying.
help.
And it's like, oh, this
It's
is slightly
annoying.
concerning. And then I was like reading all about this, and I was like getting into it. And then I saw that one of their ideas was this fart coin, and I was like, well, they can't be that smart. Like, you know, like maybe they are AI, but they're still like they're based at they're like children level intelligence. You know, it's like technically intelligent, but
Or maybe they're really sophisticated and they understand the crypto investor.
nah,
Done their
I
research.
don't
Fart
know.
to the moon.
Maybe
It's the
and I
one
think
way
that's what
ticket.
Hans is shilling it for, because he's like created his
Yeah.
own, because it's like the equivalent, like maybe there was this fart coin on Ethereum or whatever, and then maybe he's done one on
P-fart.
PulseChain. But I don't know. I like lowbrow humor and fart jokes as much as the next person, but I just can't see, you know, nation states and, you know, Morgan Stanley and all this just going aping
Change the
into
money
fart
world.
coin.
Yeah.
Change the money, fix the world. Yeah, maybe. But yeah,
I
look,
say
there's
that on
plenty of
every
other
stupid
memes.
coin.
There's plenty of other memes out there. But there does seem to be like a bit of a divide between like Zoomer memes, like Popcat and fucking whatever Giga and some of
How
these
do you
Solana
know
ones.
about these meme coins? Like, where do you
Oh,
actually?
it's just that Murad guy. It's basically just him. Like,
He's a Twitter dude.
yeah, he came out on some conference recently in Singapore, and he had a whole bunch of. He basically ripped off half of Somi's talking points about
Right.
like meme coins, religions, and cults, and then. But to be fair, he's got some information on, like, you know, in terms of cults and in terms of communities, like who holds their coins the longest. Like, he sort of kind of tries to grade the tokens by like holders and communities and things like that. But it's just like, what is up? You know, Hex OGs, like, you don't get any bigger cult than that. Like, you know, if you're going to start to say that, you know, cults are the next in thing.
Well, how is he
look no
how is
further?
Stuff and
Say again.
how is he measuring, like, how the diamond hardness of a specific community?
I mean, you can follow him and listen to some of his stuff, and it's not all junk. But yeah, it looks at like 30-day holders but they don't hold for very long. Like, you know, this is the thing. Like, if you can hold for 30 days on Solana, then you're like a diamond hand. It's like they don't understand, you know, 15-year lockups and things like that. It would blow their fragile minds.
Hey, is anybody here? Did they get into that? You know how Alti was doing a thing where they
Competition?
Yeah, the test.
Yeah, man. That's part of the
anyone
reason why
in?
I haven't been sleeping. Yeah, I'm in it, bro.
Oh yeah, how are you doing and how's it going?
Oh,
Jason,
well,
it's
I had
2
to get
hours
up at 5 a.m. twice, and
Oh.
it didn't. They had to
Why?
restart it. It's just the time that it starts, man. Like,
Time zones.
so there's competition time zones.
Okay, and you
It's
have
like
to be
9
there.
p.m.
You have to be there when it starts, or
Well,
to get the
you
biggest
don't have to
bonus.
be, but there's some strategies involved.
Yeah.
There's things like you can get this streak bonus, but because he's got 7 years compressed into 7 days, everything's divided, you know, so it's like a cycle that normally takes 30. Yeah, so instead of taking like
he's
was
pressing the
it
time.
33 days, yeah, it's like a cycle happens every 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, so that's why.
So
have
if
to
you
be
wanted to
there.
get a streak, you have to be awake.
Right.
Like, you have to get up every 2 hours.
Yeah, right. I don't know about that. How's that?
Making
I mean,
a
that's
big sacrifice. Well, there's 10K in it.
It's
If
10
you-
grand at stakes. So
the problem. Yeah, the problem with making people have to do something is that they have to do it, and then people fuck up and they hate it, and also you become a little bit like, I don't know what the gas prices are for his stuff, but like
it's on a private test
be
net,
on
a
ETH.
dev net.
On the test
So
net's fine, but
Or for the competition, it's on a dev net. But yeah, it will be on ETH.
right.
Yeah, but it will come out on Pulse, right? Like, he hasn't
I
said it like
will.
explicitly, but like next year it'll be on Pulse 100%.
yeah.
And then that's when it'll be a bit more, you know, interesting, because you know, a lot of these deposits, like for the streak bonus, I actually wanted him to put the code, make the code public, so that I could write a script to interact with the deposit function, you know, every cycle, so then I didn't have to stay awake like every 2 hours and
Yeah.
push a button. And he was like, nah, that's not really fair for the competition, you know, for if not everyone knows how to do that. But once it goes live on mainnet,
That's what's going to happen in the real life, in real world.
in real life, people are going to be able to do that, like just literally automate the streak bonus. So it's not
How
like
can
you're
you
gonna
not
have
see
to
his
do it.
contract? Isn't it public?
It's on a dev
It's a
net.
dev-
Nah, it's on a
there's no ether scan.
Also,
there's no
DevNet
block
doesn't
explorer.
actually see it.
It's just him with his DevNet in the cloud
Yeah, but-
for the test.
Oh, okay. So the
There's no
DevNet
block
Explorer
explorer.
doesn't be able to see
No.
contracts.
You can't see it. I've tried.
Nice.
But yeah, anyway, look,
You are in the positioning, or
it's having to start again. They're going to have to. They've restarted it twice, the competition,
what happened?
because I think the first time while the competition was running, he tried to update the contract or something. He tried to do some changes or maybe it was changes to the UI, like while the competition was running, because he's still working on the UI, and it just like bricked like one of the buttons or something, and then so the second time I think he did some deposits, but he's still playing with the UI, which I sort of was like, bro, just get it all sorted, get the liquidity pool, like make it so that it's as like real as possible, and then do the competition, you know. So I'm not sure where he's at with that.
It's hard because you got to dev on different areas at different times, and you're spinning multiple plates at the same time, and when you fix something over here, something pops out over here. I understand the issue, like the problem.
Yeah, because
it's a big project, and he's doing most of it himself. I
mean,
think.
it also means that any audits he has had, if he changes stuff, makes
Look,
them...
I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
most of the audits will be on the Solidity, not the UI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I was kind of thinking,
that's what
at the end of this competition, right? I'm going to have a whole bunch of suggestions, and I bet a whole bunch of people will as well. And they'll be like, "Oh, hang on a tick, man! You got to up the streak bonus. It's not enough, or like you got to wind back this whatever it is, guardian bonus or whatever." And then, so if he's going to do those tweaks, then he should really wait to finish the audits until he's got feedback. But I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah, it's hard because you've got
It's
this
up
like
to Steph,
multiple
like-
things in flux, and how do you chicken and egg things? You know, like
Yeah,
it's
well, I
a
guess
part of
just
development.
test until you think it's perfect, and then you order it, and that's
Yeah,
And just because I think that he should change, a certain parameter percentage by whatever, doesn't mean he may just disagree and be like, nah, that's
Yeah.
shit. So
and he'll
then
never
he
really
may,
know, 'cause even if you're compressing the amount of the timeline, you're not going to get real human behavior.
yeah,
Oh,
it changes human behavior,
in
100%.
the world.
Yeah.
Definitely. And hats
And you
off
know what
to him
else?
for doing it
You
publicly.
know what else?
Yeah.
No,
Go on,
go
Zach.
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, just saying, like, putting it all out there publicly, the test net straight away, or the test of the protocol and stuff, in a way, is hats off to him for doing that, because we're all seeing stuff ups or, like hurdles that he's getting through. And some people are going to put bad light on it for that fact. But with anything, if you're doing a test net or whatever, or, working in the
That's the
background,
point.
you're going to have those problems anyway.
That's the point of it. I
so
feel
you don't
it
want
is-
that in
yeah.
life on
Yeah.
the blockchain.
Yeah, in
Mm.
real life. But I think in one way it would be nice, I guess, to cover some of that stuff. It would have been good to do some of it privately first and set it up. And, even if he had a few accounts running it himself. But, I'm all for it. I'm not going to, shed any bad light because it's public. I think hats off to him for,
Look,
putting
in
it
some
out there.
regard, so I do some testing on electronics where we like simulate lightning strikes and things like that. And sometimes you just blow the equipment up, you just straight up blow it up. And it's like, I'm like, that's awesome. Look, check out this burn mark, and then you sort of feel bad, sort of going, geez, sorry, I blew up your equipment. And they're like, well, no, that's why we're here to find out. Like, we're here to see that we need to
what's
put
the
in
point
more
of failure?
protection. We need to get a higher energy bridge rectifier or a better transorb or a MOV or whatever. They've got to put that in place to divert that energy, absorb that energy, so that in the real world, things don't just blow up when there's a lightning strike. So I get that process of like, this is what it's for, is to find or try and break it. Yeah, try and break it before it goes live. Because once it goes live and it's immutable code, it's done.
Exactly.
Maybe that's Alex so
set in
long.
stone.
So
Yeah,
and
it can be a nightmare.
I think that's why
do it right.
people have got a lot of respect for Hex. Like, it's been flawlessly, like the contract has been flawlessly operating for 4 or 5 years now almost, and it's just, it keeps doing what it's doing. So
you definitely don't want to relaunch on mainnet, that's for sure.
Oh, it's ugly.
yeah,
It's ugly.
yeah, that's
You know
good,
what?
man.
It's actually not that bad. In fact,
Okay.
Depends on the scenario.
I can't remember what happened, but when Hedron first launched, there's actually 2 contracts. He had to I can't remember the reason why he did it, but he did it, and everyone just accepted the new. And the same thing happened with Solzen, which I've been involved in. They also had a problem with their first contract, and they realized that after a couple of weeks of people mining this stuff, and they just put out a new contract, and everyone got the OG tokens, and then it's your choice which one you want to mint. But like now, they just update the contract, and now everyone just uses that new contract. Like, it's people adapt.
There was one on
Okay.
the Titanx ecosystem named Lotus, and their minting worked fine, but there was a staking component, and it effed up, and they didn't know until it happened on the day, and that is so many days after launch and happens regularly, right? And it was a huge reputation loss for them, but I think they had enough in reserve where they could make them whole again, which I think is great. Like, if you can do that, you should do that. And they're launching a new token now, but like, you've lost a little trust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Responsibility for those,
because it was audited twice, and both auditors missed the bug.
that can happen. Hey?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the 9mm thing, like, I think they'll pay people out and stuff, but there was that
was just
exploit thing.
and
then
the actual
I lost a lot of
9mm
confidence.
token, right?
Yeah, I think
Not
it was
the
just the
DEX.
token. Yeah, the
Yeah.
DEX is fine. Yeah, but I think they made people right, like they made them whole, they paid them out or whatever in whatever way. But
Yeah.
this last thing I was going to say about the election was just that there also seems to be a lot of pro crypto Congress as well.
Huge. People voted for that.
Yeah, so to think that there might be in the House of Representatives like 205 pro crypto candidates, and then 14 pro crypto candidates in the Senate. So yeah, like those ratios look like that could be a good thing as well for crypto. So
how can you be anti-crypto? It just makes no sense.
If you're like all in on gold and you don't know how crypto works,
but how can you be anti it? You would at least allow those people to fucking waste their money or do whatever they want to do. Like,
you don't want people to the freedom to transact, right? You want to regulate. You want your 2% MasterCard Visa. You want your, you want to eyeball where people are going and what people are doing. Yeah.
It is like haters, like they don't want anyone else to succeed.
And they're so rich that they can't get rich anymore. There's no more rich to be, so they got to bring everyone down.
Yeah, well, they don't want you in their elite club. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like, or us, me. They don't want us to be part of
the plebeians, the common folk.
That's right.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Squirrel, R.I.P. Peanut.
Peanut probably won the election. That poor squirrel.
Single-handedly.
You see, there was a squirrel. Kamala did her thing.
Yeah, ran across this.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty funny.
In memory.
That was Peanut. Like just the last final troll. Like
the squirrels took it back.
That's classic.
Wasn't it supposed to be a close election? Trump absolutely smashed it, didn't he?
It depends who you're listening to. Yeah, it depends who you were listening to. Where you get your news.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about. I don't profess to know a lot about American politics or anything, so I don't really know. But some people were saying, that the Republicans did really well, and the fact that they had wins in both houses, right? The House of Reps and the Senate, and that seemed like
the American people
gained
voted.
Ground.
Yeah,
and it looked like, Kamala did actually worse than Biden did.
Biden got surprisingly more numbers than happened in that election that just went, which seems to indicate that something went on.
I mean, that's obvious. Wasn't it just obvious?
Yeah. Trump won 3 times. He won 3 times.
Biden in the middle of the night gets a whole lot of mail-in ballots, and all these numbers go up, and he's getting more
while people were locked down
in 2008. Yeah, right.
That was dodgy.
This
they
time
were covering up the windows so you couldn't see what they were doing. It was like,
I guess they couldn't do it twice in a row. It was
maybe they were.
There was police. There was police at the ballots. They tried doing fraud, and they were getting caught in the act.
And they didn't have the mail.
It was
this time around.
Yeah, less. And I was watching on Twitter. I don't know. You can't believe everything. So
yeah,
take
some
it
of
with a grain
it.
of salt.
Yeah,
but especially, I think just as Trump was announced, there was like trucks rolling up at some of the ballots.
I heard that. I heard that they had to
they're all
turn
trying
back
to like ram in. Yeah,
I heard that they were trying to turn back
doing
trucks
recounts
full
as
of
well.
votes from immigrants because that actually all voted for Trump. They were like,
the whole plan was like
all these people they imported.
I mean, we could have voted. There was no voter ID and. There was no voter ID in some of the blue, like the only states that went blue, the only cities that went blue required no voter ID.
Like how many people would just go?
I could have voted in that election, Like everyone,
or if you're just there for a vacation, just go in and vote.
Yeah,
there was some people trolling on X doing that exact thing. I'll just say that.
That's
I'm
crazy.
not gonna it wouldn't have made a difference for the very few who did it, but they were trolling hard.
It's pretty funny. Do you guys have anything else to say before we wrap it up? Because I've got to disappear as well. Oh, or you guys are welcome to keep going, but I do have to disappear.
Yeah.
I
was just gonna see what Ross has been up to. If he had anything interesting going on.
Yeah, I haven't heard much from Ross. So how's your book going,
I've
bro?
been in China. So Yeah, you could say
what?
that was quite interesting in its own way. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
And you got out.
unsurprisingly different. Yeah. So
Were you in like Shenzhen or something, like one of the manufacturing hubs, or where were you?
we're in Chengdu and Chongqing. Yeah,
don't know.
northern
Okay,
China,
so-
which is where my girlfriend is from. Yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
and
Is
I
it quite
like
nice?
90% of all the vehicles are EV, like all on the roads, like 95% are all EV. And they have a system where the blue number plates are the petrol cars, and you can only use those cars on certain days of the week. You can't use them 7 days a week, right?
Ah,
And you know what China's like, they track everything. So, and then you've got the green number plates, which are EV cars. EV
Right.
cars are unlimited use. You can use them as much as you like. So the incentive is to move across the EV cars because you're restricted with your use of petrol cars, right? So
Yeah.
no wonder that I think across the whole of China, it's now something like 54% are now EV, and it's increasing, right?
Is this
So,
to
yeah.
bring down the pollutions in the atmosphere? Like,
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
pollution was too high?
absolutely. But even with all the pollution, I mean, that a lot of that is just propaganda. I mean, in Chongqing and Chengdu, it's very grey sky all the time, right? And some people, they look at it, they go, oh, that's pollution. That's not pollution, right? Actually, if you look at the air quality, measurements, it's very, very good. That grey sky is just from the mist from the mountains that comes. Chongqing is very mountainous. So you get all this mist that comes from the mountains, right? So now in Beijing, I think there is a level of pollution, but that's only in certain months of the year when they burn coal. During winter, but no, a lot of this stuff is just a lot of sort of negative propaganda out there. I think when you physically go there, you're like, I don't see any pollution, I don't feel any pollution, I don't smell anything, the air smells fresh. I've been to China 3 times, right?
But that was like northern provinces, though. You're saying, like, you
no,
went
I've been in southern. I've been Guangzhou, Shenzhen before, Xiamen. I've been around a fair few areas. And yeah, I mean, who knows? But and they have this talk of ghost cities and all that lot. I think it's a lot of it's just propaganda. But it's interesting, like you go there for a coffee, right? So in Australia, typically on a day-to-day basis, you go for a coffee, you order your cappuccino, and within a couple of minutes, you got your cappuccino, right? And people ask, oh, how's your day going? And, what have you been up to? And it's kind of like a nice kind of customer vibe, But in China, it's very... it's as soon as you ask for a cappuccino, it's like, QR code. Oh, okay. So everything's QR code, right? Because they got a lot of people, they got to process lots of orders, and so they process your order very quickly, but it takes about 15 minutes to actually get your coffee sometimes, right? So that's the,
and is this with that what's the Pay thing that they use? I forget the name.
WeChat.
The WeChat.
Yeah.
Is that like ubiquitous? Like everywhere you go, you use WeChat to
Absolutely
pay?
Everywhere. I mean, I don't physically use it myself. So, but my girlfriend, everyone's using it. Everything's on WeChat. You order your cabs on WeChat. You pay for everything's just on WeChat, basically.
That's slightly scary, though, right?
Oh, it is.
Because if the government decided that you're like
things monitored, like so. For example, in Australia, if you lose your mobile phone, I lost my mobile phone a few months ago for 6 hours, and it felt like a week, right? Because I was like, oh, damn, well, what do I do now? Like, I don't have my mobile phone. I can't pay for anything. I can't do this. Well, in China, it's not a problem. You know why? Because if you lose your mobile phone in China, you can still shop, you can still pay for things, and you can still travel because it's all Face ID scanned. So every shop you walk into, scans your face, deducts the money from your account. Doesn't matter if you lose your mobile phone in China. They got a fantastic backup system.
Also, they'll be able to find your phone.
Yeah,
sounds like 43's favorite vacation.
Bro, I'm not sure that's the best way to go about it. Like,
no,
because you can easily reproduce someone's face biometrics. It's not secret in any way. Like, it's not.
That is so scary.
You could literally take like my face biometrics off this stream.
What if you're like sleeping on a couch and somebody holds the pay scan on your face, and it's it's
a bit invasive. You could say
not
that.
ideal. It's not ideal.
No,
that's crazy.
So pros and cons. But
exactly. Yeah.
It's a system that seems to work for them. Everyone seems happy.
Different cultures
seems happy. I mean, I don't know. But I met my girlfriend's friends, and everyone seems to get along, and there's no crime. You can leave your kids out on the street at 9 p.m. and they go and play, and they're all out at 9 p.m. at night. And, you know, there's no danger of muggings or anything like that. It's all just clean, safe, and, you know, it's pros and cons, but they seem to have a system that seems to be working for them. And I guess it's their way. So, you know, what can I say? I wouldn't want to live there. I was quite happy to get back here, but each to their own.
Yeah. Awesome.
Very cool.
I better go.
Yep.
That's cool.
See
I'm
you
good to
later.
go. Yeah. We might end it up anyway.
Sorry, I've
Sign
got
off.
people
Yeah,
just
sign
fully
off.
rocking up. I've
cool.
got to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that, Ross. I appreciate the different cultures and things like that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And thanks, of course, Base Radian, True Blue, Blue Bum, and 43. Good to have a chat with you guys on a Friday, Arvo. And thanks to the chat. And thanks
See you, guys.
to everyone. I'll catch
See ya.
you next week.
Sounds
Rock
good.
on.
All right. See you
See
later.
you guys. Bye. Bye.